Sometimes Valentine's Day just hits different. Okay. As a prize for myself, for more money, this is a compilation of all my solo leveling season 2 videos, not including the PV stuff. I don't want to yap much. Again, thank you for the support on all my solo leveling videos. You guys are the best, and hopefully you guys watch all my future videos from now on. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video. This is peak fiction. Thank you, Maple Star, for creating the Stark and Fern Hen. Guys, the filler videos are here. The low effort episode breakdowns is back. Solo Leveling Season 2 is finally here after a couple of months gap. This season's gonna be more grander. The power scaling, fights, characters. I do think this season will only be one core, so they are probably gonna cliffhang on the you know, Ant-Man arc. It depends if there will be a lot of anime original stuff or not. If they adapted the same amount of chapters as season 1, they could finish the Jeju Island arc. I don't see them making a consecutive 2-core anime for season 2 because while yes, Solo Leveling has a decent schedule compared to most Aniplex shows, if it is 2 cores, I don't think it will hold the quality. I mean, just look at Makeine. It seemed like they had a healthy schedule, but behind the scenes there was some production problems and needing more help from other teams in A1, and Fate Strange Fake has a terrible schedule. The production was probably in limbo for a while after episode 0, but that show has like 2 very talented directors that has big connections in the industry, and also Hakuigo is the Noble Phantasm designer. You know, the guy who made some of the best looking anime episodes. Back to Solo Leveling. Episode 1 covered chapter 46 to half of chapter 51. There was some stuff that was cut, more so about some scenes being shortened and to the point. I mean, Jinwoo doing setups on a tree was cut, unfortunate. You can just hear the girls fucking screaming like, "Oh my god, Jinwoo!" Also, can we have a round of applause for Chroma Fire being relevant again, since Solo Leveling is back? The team, and especially the director, Nakashige, really wanted to add a lot more in the anime compared to the manhwa. I know this anime is more on the novel. For character building and put more care on certain events. It was definitely jarring at times adding original anime scenes that kind of mess with the pacing of an episode, because it was pretty hard to put some added scenes in the anime because there was no space. But season 2, Nakashige said that it had more opportunities to add extra stuff for characters, etc. And also with the chibi funny moments not being present in the anime, and making Jinwoo, I guess, less heartless and make him feel more human. Even just adding this little smile about hearing his sister doing well in school that wasn't seen in the manhwa just adds a lot. This episode was directed and storyboarded by Yuya Horiuchi. He previously did episode 2, 7, and only directed episode 10 of season 1. His boards definitely makes the background more involved in certain scenes, using faraway shots that's very present, and he does the same thing in other shows like Love Life. His MVs in Love Life Nijigasaki Gakuen really showed the usage of backgrounds and object to enhance the overall presentation, making it more charming for the characters. These type of shots also have like objects in front of the camera, really nice, and the framing work on certain shots, trapping the characters in a cube almost. It signifies I don't know what it signifies. Of course, if the backgrounds are dog shit, it won't work. The art direction for the show has always been good, matching it with the vibe super well. I feel like most don't know what art direction means in anime. It refers to a person in charge of the background to match the setting and colors, working together with the coloring department. It's not when the art style changes, you dumbass. Direction wise, it's good. The shadows that eminence in the scene really gets the tension or aura of Hwang Dong-soo. And using it for a more Giga Chad look on Jinwoo, or this elf one making it more creepy. I mean, just listen to the sound he made. Talking about Giga Chads, the infamous sharp ass chin, or Jinwoo constantly mewing. The drawing quality this episode overall was consistent, with a couple of very detailed drawings, and Jinwoo's fucking chin can just slice steel. That's always one of the complaints, that the drawings can look a bit nothing too bad though, but usually when Tomoko Sudo, the character designer, is present as chief animation director, usually the drawings is more on model, and better, I guess, because she is the character designer without the very sharp chin. She was present for this episode, but from what I saw, she didn't do much. Maybe the part where Kim Chul's group got obliterated was her corrections with the thicker line art, maybe, and some more. Of course, she's not gonna supervise every cut in an episode, like what Riko Nagasawa did that almost checked every cut in episode 27 of FARMIN. The compositing by Daichi Iseki is still consistent, although back in season 1, I had some problems with the coloring and texture work being a bit too overbearing, making it a bit distracting in the final product. The orange and blue are very apparent. The orange really emanates the afternoon sun, and the blue for the cave/gates. I was pretty tired when we were just going to caves that's always blue, blue, blue. It was repetitive, but it was refreshing that we are in a different setting/scenery in the snow. It maybe sometimes can be a lack of value control that the main color can be overpowering. The digital effects on the shadow garden, shadows, is a really nice add, and the simplistic coloring, it's basically Kagenashi. Even when the shadows turn CG, they don't look jarring. Maybe the movement can be a bit robotic, but overall it blends really well with the 2D aspects that's present. Some like to say that Kentaro Iwaki should have been the director of photography for Solo Leveling, since he was the compositing artist for SAO Ordinal Scale and beyond. That's why Alicization style was so different compared to the first 2 seasons. It was mainly him, and some other factors, of course. He is one of the best compositing artists. He even elevated the overall aesthetic for Alicization. And remember with the Berkuli versus Victa fight and that Asuna scene where she was just fucking that one guy up? That was his decision of the art style change with the thicker outline, and the effects are so good after post. Of course, these sequences was animated by Yoshihiro Kano, the action director for Solo Leveling now, but you can't get everything. Animation wise, there wasn't much to say. There's a couple of really nice looking cuts. Some of them was good to make the overall action move more, unlike some shit fantasy isekai stuff. Hori Nagano's sequence was really good. As someone who does more character acting stuff that can feel very fluid and weighty, the same goes to this scene. The overall drawing quality is nice, and you can feel Jinwoo getting sucked in by the red gate. I wish I could suck Sun Jinwoo. The effects too are really good with the purple and red. Kotomori did Igris, or as the anime says it, Igrito, fighting the bear boss. Also, I love the bear boss looks like that. Like, oh my god guys, kill the ice bears! Wait, it's an ice bear with the foe! It's the boss, guys! The boards are nice. Igris slowly revealing through the snow and simplifying his design to just a blob basically, then reveal himself whilst in the air. This shot is probably my favorite this episode. Igris spinning downwards. The perspective and the camera looking up makes it hard to animate, but more just makes it look so easy. Overall, the episode was really good. I do think this wasn't the most prioritized episode. Yoshihiro Kano, Takafumi Tori, Horikatsu Maruyama, and some more was not present. I saw the leaked footage of episode 2. It will have more action. It will look good, better than this episode. And it's not 8 minutes yet, so let's talk about the OP and ED for a bit. The OP was mainly by the Solo Leveling team, directed and storyboarded by Shunsuke Nagashige, the series director for Solo Leveling, and the compositing artist is Teppei Ito, the main compositing artist for MAPPA right now, like the JJK and Chainsaw Man team. Visually, it wasn't better than OP1. The bar was pretty high. Granted, it was outsourced to a Korean studio, Studio Pruri. They have done a lot of promotional stuff for games and such. Although the main reason why they didn't do this season's opening was some kind of controversy with anti-man gestures included in the OP for a millisecond. The Koreans didn't like that, and they also got taken off the credits. So yeah, unfortunate. Nakashige was trying a bit too much to replicate Pruri's art style from OP1, and some of the action parts was quite hard to read because the camera was moving a lot and the compositing was a bit distracting. Overall, it was still really good opening visually, and the ED, it was still by the same person that was in charge of ED1, being Hiromi Oshiro. His style is very distinct with the CG aspect and imagery of Sung Jin-woo. Amazing. Visually, opening is better, and music wise, ending is better. Episode 1 started very strong. according to Mal. Yes, episode breakdown for Soul Leveling is back. Although I'm not the biggest fan of doing this stuff. That's why I kind of changed it a bit of how the video is structured now for like my Dandadan and my hero one. Since most of the video is just me going like, oh, this scene is animated by blah blah blah, and this scene is animated by blah blah blah. Look how great the board is, the foreshortening. Doing that for like 90 minutes of the video is not enjoyable for me, and maybe for you guys too. Anyways, if you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts on episode 1. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys next time.
Are you really that inexperienced?
Oh my god, why am I recording again? We are only 2 episodes in season 2 and we already got a Michelin star action episode. Jinwoo, Igris, and Iron Bars versus Baruka was definitely up there as one of the best action episodes of the series. I do think episode 4 is better in terms of animation and the action boards. I love it. And people are saying it's better than episode 11. No. Just no. Shh. It's not. This is almost episode 7 staff with episode 4 priority, I guess you could say. While still this is not the most prioritized episode, it was still prioritized, but most of the main animators or even action directors are not really present. Hirokatsu Maruyama, Takafumi Tori, and Yoshihiro Kano, although Kano did some corrections judging from his tweet. Some of the effects look like Kano's, and some of the action cuts could be too. Also, I forgot to mention, yes, Takeuchi will be participating. It's still unknown what he is doing. Kaneko, the animation producer for Soul Leveling in A1, just said like, thank you Takeuchi, if I remember. I'm guessing he will storyboard / direct an episode. He is a very talented animator, veteran, and if he is involved in a project, then Ryo Araki will likely participate in whatever he does. Takeuchi directed the Lycra Recall episode. Araki's there. He animated in Heavily Delusion. Same goes for Araki. Oregaru Season 2, Takeuchi was very involved. Araki, and many more. Of course, with the recent example with the villainous Oji-san, Takeuchi is the series director, so Araki also animated in the OP. Same goes with Nozumo Abe. Takeuchi has a good connection with him. He pulled Abe in the Lycra's Recoil episode. So yeah, it really depends on if Abe has time since he is prioritizing his UFO table works more. Also, before the episode, thank you for the support in the first episode. I thought it would do okay, but it did better than I expected. You know, I haven't done this for you guys in a while, but you deserve it. This episode covered chapter 52 and 55. It was less chapters adapted since there was some anime original stuff, like with Baruka and Igris Jinwoo exchange, and Jinwoo reflecting on his actions, killing Kim Chul, or just saying to himself, I am death. The episode was storyboarded by Makoto Muta and directed by Tatsuya Sasaki. Sasaki has a lot of episode director credits under his belt, while Muta only has 1 storyboarded credits with Undead Unluck episode 2. Very action-oriented episode, so makes sense. When it comes to the dialogue scenes, boarding wise, nothing too much if you compare to Yuya Horiuchi's episode 1. Although Muta used a lot of perspectives that's distorted a bit with this Kim Chul fisheye lens shot, really capturing his despair on the situation, and this Baruka shot. I really like the split screen idea that was used for some of the scenes before the big Unga Bunga fights. Really showcase both perspectives at once rather than just switching shots every time. The perspective work also this episode, there was a lot of them and it's really good. The foreshortening and giving more emphasis on the line work, making it more bolder. Very bold. Like this Kim Chul scene where the fur has a more dense line work to it. More like they just lined out the fur with black than just filling it rather than just densing the line. Interesting. And I gotta say the colors and comp felt a bit better in my opinion this episode. The effects, shadows, and the red absence of the gate gives more tension with Yunho and Hwang Dong-soo's clashing. Or fisting each other, I don't know. I know I blabber a lot about compositing, but it is very essential in a show. Like the recent Arthur Carey Diaries opening showed great color design and heavier compositing. I fucking love that OP. What do you think of the OP? Arthur Carey Season 2 really used distinct color palettes to enhance the and the aura itself done in post mixed really well with the characters. Unlike a certain show. While the action is the main highlight for this episode, I gotta highlight how consistently good the episode is. The movements are stellar, even for non-important scenes like this Kim Chul walk cycle or the elves and shadows fighting in the background. There's so many characters, but they still add really nice detailed movements with smearing works, although the drawing quality can be a bit meh at times, since Tomoko Sudo is not chief ADing this episode. Sometimes the face structure can look a bit elongated, or the chin/jawline is very sharp in a bad way, or good way since people like seeing Jinwoo mewing. Or edging in my case. Action wise, it's great. I do have little nitpicks about stuff. Some of the camera work was a bit too excessive, and some of the scenes needed a bit more build up, like Jinwoo cutting an elf's head, and this one where Jinwoo suddenly appeared could build up the scene a bit more, but again, nitpicking. A lot of the fights were snappy and energetic, like soul leveling always is, or just getting jumped. Should I make those videos, guys? Soul leveling jumping videos, guys. Or just talk about scene by scene, then adding some jokes. For the people that might get mad at that, I'm joking. Not really, but I'm joking. The sense of speed was really captured through the camera movement and action boards that's very ambitious, playing around with complex perspectives that execute perfectly, while also playing around with the environment using the snow as like a smoke screen, or little details like snow stuck on Jinwoo's shoe then falling off of it. With additional background animation, it's easier to comp since the snow is basically one single color, white, with maybe some gradients. Compared to like the Demon Castle fight in season 1, the texture was a bit more detailed, and in the final product it felt overbearing. While this episode was consistent in terms of movement, even for character acting scenes, there was some highlights. And I mentioned that this is similar with episode 7 because Elo Studio is involved in this episode. They did some key animation work with their in-house animators. I'm guessing it's a Korean studio judging from the names. And they did just that with this episode, even doing some of the highlights. Sung Woo-no did a minute sequence, nice layouts to showcase the shadow summoning, the lightning effects really adds to the scene. The amount of characters in this scene was a lot, but overall was consistently good, and with some very snappy Baruka moments that really sells it. Also he did this Jinwoo scene, Giga Chad, another animator from Elo Studio, Han Hee-min. The reveal of Iron was great, really nice zoom in and zoom outs to give that travel time and impact, and one of my favorite cuts is this slow-mo Iron showing up, really gives off that scale and weightiness to his axe. Same goes for this short Igris scene, you can feel the weight of his sword while he's pulling back, then swinging it. Amphibi's sequence was really good. Pretty new animator in the industry, started with the first season of Blue Lock and gradually did more and more stuff. Although he only did the layout for this scene, again, the perspective work and timing to give that speed, slowing it a bit, then boom, suddenly very close to the camera. It's very snappy timed with speed lines to exaggerate the force of the attack even more, and just flipping everywhere. But my favorite sequence this episode is definitely Hajime Nakagawa's one. He has a distinct style for his animation with more blocky like design and shadows that's just like blobs rather than just a straight line. That's very noticeable. We saw a lot of instances in season 1 with his style, although we didn't see him animate any fast-paced action that much. We finally see it with this episode. I mean, you can just tell how the chief ADs and ADs didn't touch any of his works. His bold usage of smears really emphasizing the speed of this exchange, with literally making the characters just streaks of lines or stretching the characters a lot so the attack feel more impactful with this fast-paced fight. The choreography is amazing. This little thing where they stopped a bit in midair then continued, really nice. And noting also that Igris is a hard design to draw, and Baruka's coat just moving around a lot with Nakagawa's style of shaping it more sharp. Really great scene. Season 2 is gonna get even more crazy with the later episodes, or even the next episode. Depends on what staff they're gonna put in on the next one. This episode was very action oriented. The dialogue was basic. Some good stuff, nothing too much though.
Oh, Shinji, what about this shot? Let me put on my glasses. This scene signifies the distance between Jinwoo and the tranquility through the broken glass.
Really excited to see Jinwoo aura farming more, and some of the later action episodes too. Give me more views. Also, this is not Soul Leveling related. If you are curious about the One Piece reaction channel thing I posted in my community page, it's still a rough idea. I want to do it, but that's far in the future. The earliest maybe late 2024. The latest when I die. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts about this week's episode. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. You know, I was thinking maybe we could go on a
my brother?
Solo Leveling Season 2 Episode 3 was surprisingly really good. I would say it was visually one of, if not the best from the series. This is not recency bias. Maybe it is. But some of the art direction and overall visual cohesion is much better compared to, let's say, Episode 7's Demon's Castle. I mean, we got to see some Minecraft leveling like mining diamonds, going on a shipwreck, going to the nether, and even last episode, talking to Miner. In terms of animation power, of course it's not close to some of the best action-oriented Solo Leveling episode. It was again not a prioritized episode. This is more evident this time. There were some returning names from episode 2. Solo Leveling is not a JJK, Chainsaw Man, Cloverworks, Umehara line. They don't have the biggest team for the show. It's just a collective of a few main animators and action directors that corrects a lot of the action. With some very talented freelancers along the way, since Kaneko, the anime for Solo Leveling, was on SAO Ordinal Scale and above. There was a lot of talent on there. That's why Vercreek was in Solo Leveling. He was a new animator when he worked on Alicization, but now he's a household name, making the big highlights for some shows. But Kaneko still had that connection with Vercreek. Then Vercreek had time, so he animated that episode. Asuna's Ass was the best animated scene in SAO. This episode covered chapter 56 to half of chapter 61. There was some content stuff with the bar scene, Jinho and his dad talk. There was another person that appeared because they wasn't just talking about handing over the Yujin guild to Jinho. I don't want to reveal it since it may get added later. I don't know. Heejin's scene with this guy was not in a car in the manhwa, and also the reveal of the ant evolving, getting wings. Red Bull gives you wings. Was actually here in chapter 56 compared to the anime. They teased it in the last episode of season 1. There's more content stuff, so you can check out Chroma Fire's tweet about that stuff, or wait for a content video from someone. I don't know. This episode was directed by Koji Furukawa and storyboarded by Hiroki Hirano. Furukawa, from the looks of it, is a in-house staff member in Kinema Citrus, judging from his credits. This is his first time working on a project outside of the studio, and Hirano's appearance was a surprise. I had to double check it. It is that Hirano. He was the assistant director for Mushoku Tensei Season 1, then became the Season 2 director for MT for just Part 1. I'm guessing his storyboard / directing work from SEO Alicization got him to Solo Leveling. His storyboarding parts in Mushoku Tensei Season 1 was not the craziest. It looked great. I'm not gonna go and watch the episodes. I'm too lazy to do that. He did direct episode 1 and 2 from season 1, so that's great. For season 2, the most standout episode he did was storyboarding episode 9, the Nanahoshi episode. Then he just vanished from part 2 season 2. And of course season 2 overall had a terrible schedule. They changed series director mid-core. That's just no. This episode was definitely not that action heavy, since this was more of a plot driven episode. The complaints I saw that this episode felt short because people felt like they didn't know what to focus on, which I kinda get. I mean, that's what happens when you mostly faithfully adapt the fight from the manhwa. But I love the additional character focus scenes with like Chahain.
Yeah.
And since I am a manhwa reader, I don't want to get too spoily, but the biggest complaint I have is the character relationships, character growth, or characters that should be more important and more involved are just sidelined. Hopefully they fix most of that stuff in future events. Also, I don't know why the shot of Chahain reminds me of that Classroom Elite illustration where Ayano Koji was sitting beside the pool. I don't know, that was random. Hirano's boards are really nice in all occasions. The Demon Castle part is is a definite upgrade compared to the fight with Cerberus. Not that much. I know it's a different level, but the pink flames really complements Jinwoo and all the other shadows really well, while showcasing more of the other Demon Castle levels with sometimes very competent animation. Now, the complaints I had for episode 7 was kind of fixed a bit. The background textures in the Cerberus fight was over textured in the final product that didn't really complement the animation, but for these two cuts it's better, especially this one. From the looks of it, the background textures was actually drawn individually. I think you can see it moving if you slow it down compared to this one where it's just a simple tone color with placed textures, which was better compared to season 1, but it's not the best, although the animation was really good. This background is really good. If you focus more, you can see there's 3 colors. There's the darker one, the lighter one, and the one that's in the middle tone with less opacitated brush to not overpower the main color. The last level that was shown this episode was one of the best looking things visually this series. The hand-drawn flags really gets the atmosphere more of this level so well, and the art direction itself is phenomenal. While there's a lot of just panning shots, it gets the scale across well, and Jinwoo keeps aura farming. I thought this was harder. I would never guess that. My name is Sung Jinwoo, the Monarch, the guy that can arise a lot of people while simultaneously trying to save my mother. The color design is great with a simple panning up shot, and the soundtrack playing in the background was so good. Sawano. Good. With the little details adding a light flare on the dagger to give off more aura, I guess. Even for the dialogue stuff, it's more interesting. It keeps you engaged, utilizing different shots rather than just close-up face character 1. Then close-up face character 2, with even correlating the dialogue, like this scene with Jinwoo being Jinho's imaginary brother, then the shot goes to this where their faces aren't shown, or this shot with Dad, when they say about the gates, we zoom back on Dad trapped in a cell, or something. And the interrogation scene was the best example. Hiroki's boards really keeps the tension and builds up to it, using distorted shots when talking about stuff that could destroy the world, and when the tension is higher, you see the camera slowly rotating, or the shot completely turned red, reflecting from like a alarm thing, when Hwang Dong-soo lied about Jinwoo's death because he thinks he died from the red gate. Gate 8. Edge? He does this quite a bit in Mushoku Tensei, using clever framing work to imply more from a shot, with using objects and such. Talking more about the action parts, it's still good, with a lot of limitations since it's not really an important fight. There were some janky movements, weird zoom outs, and in-betweening errors. It's nitpicky, but if you see this Chahain shot, the sudden jump of the drawings was weird. It's because of lack of in-betweenings. Again, nitpicky. Before the main fight, this sequence where Jinwoo used his ruler's hand thing like a boomerang was so smooth. The smearing work, effects, and the camera work tracking the dagger really makes it more fluid. Most of the fight with Jinwoo and this fat pig Vulcan was mostly corrected by Horikatsu Maruyama as the action director this episode. Most of the sequences are still artist unknown, so if there is additional confirmation about who did who, I'll edit it as usual top left. Hirano's action boards really gets the speed really well, even with limitations. He uses eye flares to give more visual direction on where did Vulcan came from, and this POV shot where Jinwoo blinked, then he just suddenly vanished. Amazing. The sense of scale too, laying out good framing work that makes Vulcan really big compared to Jinwoo. Hirokazu Maruyama's corrections really gives more impact in a more fluid nature compared to if Kano corrects action. He uses a lot of really visible smears and effects. This is an assumption if Maruyama actually added the effects or not, but looking from his previous works, he does use a lot of effects. And ash cheek, the added wind effects and smokes really again gives off that scale with really complex perspectives. Jinwoo's hoodie slowly tearing off looks great. The individual cloth separating looks annoying to draw, like that one tweet I saw, an animator drawing every grain of rice, and it does move a lot than I expected. crazy. The camera work of Iron throwing his shield to Jinwoo, and the timing itself, fast camera rotations, then revealing Vulcan's attack in slow-mo. You can see his hammer thing didn't really move that much, but with the added wind effects, it gives off that force with aggressive smears. Also, props to the staff for consistently having 2D creatures. Even with the smaller monsters, they usually use CG for the shadow soldiers, but sometimes you can barely see if it's CG or not. Again, I might sound like a broken record, but the added wind effects give so much force to every attack, even when the weapon is not on screen as much. And with the slow-mo, I mean, this little cut of Jinwoo is the same shit as Maruyama's cut in the OP. With Jongin, this episode had limited resources, so they couldn't really have shots that's like this where the full body is showing, so you use tricks to hide that stuff so it's easier to animate with clever boards and like having smears or character revealing from the smoke. Vulcan's running can be a bit goofy at times. The illustrated background mixes really well with the characters here. This shot of Jinwoo is daddy worthy, while the final attack was limited. Again, the staging for this scene really sells it well, especially the detailed effects like this blood shit looks so good. I forgot to mention, Hirotaka Tokuda is chief ADing this episode. He is my favorite among the 3 chief AD with Tomoko Sudo and Chiaki Furuzumi. He draws the jaw not sharp as you can see in some instances, and he is the monster designer for Solo Leveling, so there is a chance that he also corrected some of the drawings for the monster this episode. A lot of really good lore drops this time around, and some tidbits of action. I am excited for the future episodes. We are closing in from a really good fight, large scale at that, so hopefully you can deliver more. I don't want to blabber on more since I don't want to edit that much. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts on this episode, or every girl reaction having daddy in the title. And yeah, hope you guys this video. See you guys next time. This episode starts with... Wait, this is Fortnite. What? Oh, wait, it's Weathering Wave. You might be thinking, Shinji, why are you making a video on this episode when there was literally nothing happening? Easy. Money. Season 2 episode 4 was the weakest looking episode of this season. For obvious reasons, it's a low priority episode. Very low priority, without the backing of not much talent. While it still looks good since it's solo leveling, but there was definitely some complaints I have for this. It's not nitpicking, but it kinda is. People might be confused on why I highlight some very minor inconsistencies. It's not because I do it to just criticize the show. No, it's mostly just signs that the production isn't going smoothly, as people might like to say. These inconsistencies should be not showing in some of the most earlier episodes. There's a lot of checks, rechecks, then rechecks for those specific scenes. Van Oba, a person that did a layout for the first episode, said that he worked on this last year, which we can assume that they were working on season 2 when season 1 was still airing. This is not me saying that they only started animating episode 1 at that time. Usually episodes don't get produced in a chronological order. Something like episode 4 is finished, but episode 1 is not. But episode 3 is finished. You get the idea. Is this a good schedule? Not really. A year and a couple of months for this big scale fight that we're gonna see in the second half, it's not that favorable, and the team in Soul Leveling is not the biggest ever, but I trust Kaneko and the staff working on this. Hopefully that rant can make my video 8 minutes long. This episode covered chapter 62 to chapter 66, although they did add the first 3 to 4 pages of chapter 67. There's, as usual, cut content, not that crazy. It would be funny if they had some of the interactions of these low rank hunters when Jinwoo was in the reassessing thing. I know some people are really bummed out that the removal of most of the funny moments of the shadows or the chibi very expressive faces. I get that, but we got Jinwoo looking less heartless and emotionless in the anime, so I think that's a fair trade, and that also will be a good thing for future events. Little changes that there was a monster that was actually shown here rather than a gate when Jinwoo was running to the gate. They removed Choi smoking in the dungeon. It would have looked cool since he like inflamed his cigar, but I get it. Smoking is bad for you guys. I mean, who would do that? This is also Cha-hain, Choi, and Gunhee's first appearance in the manhwa, I think. I don't know about the novel. All of the Chihane scenes you see in the anime is original scenes. Same goes for the other Ezra counters I mentioned. The episode was directed and storyboarded by Makiko Hayase. She's mostly an animator, mainly for Bones or Shaft back then. Although this is her only sequence that she did that I can find. So yeah, her previous storyboarding slash directing gig was in episode 5 of Solo Leveling, another not really important episode. Again, this episode there is really not much to talk about. The most standout part is probably the overall boards and some of the drawings. There was quite a bit of usage of these overhead shots, really played with some of the angles and perspective work. The art direction itself is standard Solo Leveling. It looks great. This also, I love Jinwoo's hand positioned like this. It creates like a love heart to tell the viewer that Jinwoo actually likes Gunhee. Some people complain about the aura. They added the aura in post. They've always used it like this since season 1. I can't lie, it does sometimes not look as menacing. I think the anime portrayed it better with Gunhee's Sacho appearance to Jinwoo. Gunhee slowly coming out of the shadows really gives off more aura. The thing that didn't give more aura is definitely some of the other stuff. Usually I don't really like to compare the manhwa and the anime for obvious reasons. The aura in the manhwa gives off more presence, you can say, compared to the anime. The problem too, using these VFX on characters, is that it's different colors. If you've seen the shadows, they use the same type of VFX, but it's not surrounding the entire body. It's just little flames in some parts of the body. It's the same color, that's why it meshes better. Blue and blue, black and black, you get me. I am a bit disappointed with Choi's appearance. The famous Choi panel doing his Aizen cosplay was adapted, in my opinion, pretty meh. The red glow on the eyes really gives off more aura to farm. By the way, if they use the same type of aura that was in the manhwa, it would look way more dogshit compared to how the anime portrayed it. Another good thing this episode is the drawings. At least some of them. Tomoko Sudo is the chief AD, and her drawings are always phenomenal since she is the character designer for Solo Leveling. The close-up shots are amazing. I mean, this shot just makes me wanna... Oh wait, wrong thing. This shot just makes me wanna... Jinwoo's close-ups, the anatomical muscle build, it really is strong in a lot of ways. The Chihane shots is probably one of the best looking drawings in the anime currently. The backlight from the gate does so much for these shots. And I'm being serious here. The cloth folds with these 4 lines really insinuates the tightness of her clothing, and the bust size really emphasizes the bust size. I'm gonna say it again. Really emphasizes the bust size. The hair strands also putting the lighting on the lines. It's something that Dogakobo use quite a lot since they have an in-house compositing team. I know other shows does this too. A lot of them. Sakamoto did it recently. It wasn't the best. That's why Kape's drawings in Oshinoko really elevates the overall scene. Not just her strong drawings and the abundant amounts of hair strands, but the compositing itself on it is very nice. Like a good comparison is probably her drawings in Rent a Girlfriend. The stuff I'm not the biggest fan is the direction, drawings, and pacing. This definitely feels the most basic episode so far. It can feel a bit weak at times. The pacing itself can feel lackluster. Not that lackluster. I'm not talking about the amount of chapters they adapt. No. It's cutting to different scenes. They did cut some parts in the manhwa, but in the previous episodes, they did the same thing. But in the episodes, it doesn't feel like nothing was cut. Although for this one, it's pretty evident. While you can see in some instances, Hayase tried to use some neat looking shots, but the execution itself is not the best. The perspective shots of the drawings just feel a bit off on how it is proportioned. It was consistently happening too. Yes, they didn't really put much resources in this episode, beside having Tomoko Sudo as chief AD and a random Kano correction. In terms of animation, we got Choi's fucking aura farming. They didn't go overboard with the textures for the monsters, so it's good. The hand animation, the clicking motion, you can feel the weight of his hand slowly moving back with the camera tracking it. The effects patterns are gorgeous, especially these light flares patterns that's also very colorful. All around the effects work are nice. The spiky effects could be corrected by Kano. I think he tweeted that he participated in this episode with a small correction. I don't know why he's even here, but cool. The close-up choice shots with the orange shade from the flames really showed his magic fire skill thing. Or again, it could be just him aura farming. We still on a streak of low priority episodes. At least it's not an edging streak. I think the next episode is gonna be 1, 2. Then episode 6 should get prioritized quite a bit. I think a lot of people that care only about the fights might not like this episode. Like, listen, Solo Leveling story is basic, and as a manga reader, I have some problems with it. But if an anime is all about action, nothing else, I'm not gonna enjoy it too. Same goes for Demon Slayer. If the characters were like Tachibana from Nisekoi, that shit would be ass. Or you can be like Bleach, like, my fucking god, like sorry about that. This episode was really nothing special or even crazy. I'm just splitting hairs making this video. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts on today's episode. Is it good? And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. You guys, look at my boy getting it. I thought I wouldn't make a video out of this episode, but A1 was like, press. I'm in. Solo Leveling Season 2 Episode 5 was really good, and probably the best looking in terms of drawing quality or just the episode itself. Even if this is a setup episode, the overall consistency is amazing. Season 2 really showed an upgrade in terms of compositing and overall aesthetic from all 3 departments, and although the limitations seem visible in the action scenes, the way they handled it is great. Before talking about the episode, I'm gonna go sicko mode for a bit. For the people that's hating on my previous video, I get it. If you like the episode and I'm criticizing it, sure. First of all, I still enjoyed it, but what I'm saying is, correct me. I don't know everything about animation. I'm still learning. Hell, a couple days ago I just learned how to check if an episode was outsourced by what studio. Shout out Keyframe Staffless. Some people can correct me, but most of you just,
Oh, budget. This episode doesn't have action. Why would you give it budget?
I nitpick too when it comes to highlighting some of the good parts of an episode. Of course, I don't target my video to the Sakuga space, but more mainstream, I guess, because of money. It just goes to show shonen fans can't appreciate a good-looking non-action episode, how it's directed and boarded. There's a lot of them. SSS Gridman episode 9, 86 part 2 episode 11, Uma Musume Road to the Top episode 4. Okay, that's kinda action. Kaguya-sama season 3 episode 13. Or for your shonen brain, Dan 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 episode 7, JJK season 2 episode 5, that one Shikamaru episode in Shippuden. There's a lot more. I still love the episode since I don't only care about the action parts. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. I'll give you my last words.
Do not be a retard when I'm trying to help you out.
This episode covered chapter 67 to chapter 71. It was a pretty straightforward adaptation, not one-to-one, but not much content besides some stuff that might appear in future episodes. One quite important cutscene is Jino talking to a certain someone that will appear soon, so I'm not gonna show it. Another thing that the anime always does is lowering the count of characters. This episode we have the Hunter Guild team, which had 10, but in the manhwa it had 18, counting Jinwoo. They always do this, they remove 1 or 2 people with Hwang Dong-suk's group, and remove 1 person from the ice dungeon thing with the people that was in Jinwoo's group, but they probably removed them because those were probably just NPCs, so it didn't really matter. Also, some of the characters from this group, more specifically these 2 girls aura farming, or thigh breast farming, were already shown in the first season. It's all anime original scenes. One scene was hanging with Heejin, best girl in terms of my type. let's ignore the story. And another scene investigating the Jeju Island, the helicopter scene basically. The episode was storyboarded and directed by Kento Toya, his first time directing and storyboarding, an animator that has very close ties with Kaneko and now is a A1 in-house employee, I think. Usually being an animation director, mostly have some character designer credits, although some of these he's not actually the main character design, but he does a lot of corrections and stuff. He is the character designer for the SAO Progressive movies, and all of the ideas from that movie are in this. For Toya's first time storyboarding, it's actually amazing, the best probably this season. The wider shots that accompanied with the background complements the scene really well. What is interesting is that the presence of the illustrated backgrounds is unique. Usually some of these shots are CG backgrounds because of how much it is rotating. Like with this shot, you might think this is CG, but it's not. You can see that the ground is flat even if there's a lot of bumps in terms of how many rocks there is. And to get that three-dimensionality with a flat illustrated background is crazy. The visual cohesion for the episode overall is impressive. Toya was also credited as an LO director, LO meaning layout. I'm guessing he supervised some of the layouts this episode, correcting it or judging from a producer in A1. He may have done most of the layouts for the first half of the episode. That's just a guess. Even the mundane scenes feel so much alive. The slow-mo shots when Cha-hae smelled something. Is that Axe body spray? The body spray that smells a bit too much that it can suffocate you. The speedy walk that Cha-hae did was cute, and with her apartment, I think the art direction and overall color design is amazing. How it blurs the background since a glass is there, and showcasing the lights more looks way better compared to the manhwa. Also, I was watching the episode and I saw these book piles beside Cha-hae's bed. I thought it was random titles, but there's a whole ass thread on Twitter how it symbolizes her character. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave it in the description if you're interested. This orc glitching looks so creepy. The close-up shots with basically an eye flare to insinuate the spazzing motion more. By the way, this orc is glitching because his body was getting controlled by Kalkagun, because this skeleton orc boss guy is Kalkagun. This was not the system. And the glorious final scene, Sawano's OST playing, the sense of depth and scale of this room is incredible. The 3D backgrounds and all the CG orcs really made this scene so intense. The aura, their massive schlong. This shot is crazy how the field of view slowly gets higher, making it to like a fisheye-ish shot, while the main focus is Ki-hun. Before talking about the action segment, the drawing this episode was impeccable. Tomoko Sudo, being the chief AD, really, as usual, make the drawings more refined, especially the jawline. Ki-hun really looks more like a main character compared to the manhwa. The manhwa is a more oval shaped with a more circular-ish bottom, while in the anime, it's more straighter with the bottom jaw just, again, very straight without any curvature. It was very good, the drawings throughout. Some of them are corrected by Tomoko Sudo, and some of them can be by the animator itself that animated the scene, so they can also just have strong drawings from the Ginga. Hirotaka Tokudo is ADing too, since there are a lot of monsters involved. He might have corrected some of the drawings for the high orcs. Since he is the monster designer for Soul Leveling, he understands their design the best. The action parts, again, although some limitations are put in place for some scenes, the way Toya boards them and paces them are incredible. The tightly choreographed fights with everyone, switching to different characters to also introduce them. The range of ideas for the action is what makes it not dull. Using different color scheme, drawing the spine getting pulled with this great red background in the back, letting the action speak for itself, and a bunch more with heavy emphasis on the expressions really makes the overall drawing quality more line heavy and detailed to really capture that worriness or I guess despair that the group had. Then Jinwoo was like, the effects work is good, and the comp just puts very simple coloring, not to overkill it, and the absence of the 3D background, but still making some shots very dynamic, is great. These two shots, the fact that why this doesn't look over textured compared to some stuff in season 1, is that although this is just a texture slapped in the floor than just dragging it. The blurring on it makes it less overbearing, and adding the speed lines to convey the speed of a certain attack is a clever trick. The animation power itself is great. There are some moments that really stood out. Guan Shi animated the start of the action. While it feels a bit limited at times, the boards and Shi's animation really sells the impactfulness of these cuts. Especially with this girl, the sudden fast zoom really insinuates the force of her attacks with nice camera work. Guan Shi also did Choi's, or Che, I don't know, Korean names are hard, attack from previous episode. Also, I just realized he did some of Philo's dance scenes in the 3rd season of Shoujo. So that's cool. This girl too, with the sister fister, the fisting resistor. The camera work again is nice. The bouncy nature of her movements. I love that the camera is not tracking her. There's a delay before focusing on her. Good boards let the action speak for itself. Love the little details, like her stepping back a bit after punching, then jumping. The airtime on her, the way we stop for a bit, slowing it mid-air, then boom, the kick, really adds more force to it, with the added smears and spit that acts like lube. Finally, the best looking sequence this episode. Ryuta Saito animated this. First of all, the drawings are phenomenal. The detail on certain stuff, like the thicker outline on the monster and Kihyun, of course, the added lines and the shadows really put forth more of his expression. The more heavier action here is phenomenal. You can even see the smearing more because how slower the fight is here. These cuts are of course referencing Kirito slicing that one first floor boss. I forgot the name. They also did it in the progressive movies. Again, the expression is nice, the fluidity, and this orc body is animated, changing perspective and had to draw his muscles too. Poggers. I wasn't expecting much from this episode, but overall this was a very standout episode by itself. Not just for the action, everything about it, and the build up for the next episode is so good. Yet so trash because I got cliffhanged. Although there was some standout staff this week, it's nowhere near what's coming next week. People are guessing that Kikuchi will do the next episode, the person that also did the Egress fight, and hopefully Kaneko brings a lot of the highlight animators, and of course freelancers next week. I'm gonna take a break this week, so next video is just the episode 6 video, since I just realized I posted like 3 vids last week and 2 of them were non-fillers. Although the filler videos get more views. F in the chat. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts about today's episode. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. Soul Leveling Season 2 Episode 6 was... Sorry. Hello?
不是不是，我在说那个
I don't know, it just called me. Finally, the episode that everyone was hyping up about, including me, delivered. Jinwoo vs Kakagun is better than Igris vs Jinwoo. Maybe the combat slash tightly choreographed fight was better there, but overall the episode was such a masterclass of every aspect that was built by the person in charge. I thought it was gonna be underwhelming because of how hyped up it was. Someone got a bit too hyped up thinking Purple Igris was something else, but A1 proved me wrong. The staff list had some surprising freelancers, but the heavy lifting is still by the main staff for Solo Leveling doing the highlights. The schedule for Solo Leveling is surprisingly healthier than some people assumed. Not saying it's good. Even some people said that they finished production of Season 2, although maybe almost. The peaks of Season 2 is not this episode. We still have the Takeuchi episode, which could be a case of like a Dandadan episode 7, where the credits can be the healthiest, since I assume his episode was finished way back because he has another show that he's directing and very involved with it. We still don't have confirmation what episode he's doing. It could be the next fight or the final fight in the Jeju Island thingy stuff. Balls? Capella's balls. This episode covered chapter 72 to half of chapter 76. Although the funny I'm a minor Chai-Hain scene was in chapter 71. It's the least amount of chapters that was adapted this season because there were some extended and original scenes. This scene with Choi was original just to probably hype up the Jeju Island raid a bit more and extended the fight with Karkagan quite a bit. It was basically 2 minutes of original concept for the action at the final stretch of the fight with additional changes. Most notably, Karkagan's magic circle. It had more signs, meaning it had more abilities like this gravitational magic thing that wasn't in the manhwa. It could be in the novel, I don't know. Wonder what this 69 symbol ability would do.
Sinchi, actually, this is the Cancer zodiac sign because in the Greek mythology,
I know. It's a joke. Rather than the manga, the fire-breathing attack, then Jinwoo jumping attacking the eye, with some Manager Wu and Cha Hain's dialogue, had a lot more added scenes in the anime, with the chain thing, Loris Lava, the barrage of spells, and the Kakugan just went full Denken all hands on deck. Unfortunately, we didn't get the thumbs up panel with Iron and Tank. But who really cares? This episode was directed and storyboarded by Takayuki Kikuchi, who previously did episode 3 of season 1, and of course the Igris fight. It's fascinating how much better this episode feels and look. These two episodes are fundamentally different, but at the same time, not really. One is a 1v1 basically, and the other is a, I don't know, 50 versus 50. There's more flexibility with ideas and concepts for the action because of how much more entities there are. I gotta mention Takumi Tori as the action director, not action animation director. The difference is I think action director actually had some involvement with the direction for the action rather than action animation director. You're just correcting some of the action with adding movement and such. Action direction can also do that, but there's more stuff than just that. Before I glaze this episode, something kind of bothered me. There's some stuff this episode that was a bit but nothing apparently ruining it. It's just nitpicking. But listen, I think Saono's music is good. AOT and still my favorite work from him. 86 is a masterpiece. Especially that Lilac soundtrack, oh my god. Saono's music in Soul Leveling just feels like background music, nothing else. Not all the time, just sometimes. It doesn't impact much of the climactic scenes. I get it, Shadowborn, amazing OST. I think it falls under the audio direction or editing. The volume is not loud, I guess. Here, I'll give you some examples. I know it's fundamentally different. The recent Sakamoto Days episode, Yuki Haishi's music has that oomph. Same goes with his My Hero stuff. You can feel the bass, the vibration, or even in Blue Lock. Again, it could be more about the audio direction. I do think there's also the sound effects that feels a bit quiet. Anyways, getting sidetracked. Hopefully this video is not that long. Future me, how we looking? Fuck you. As usual, Kikuchi conveying depth and dynamism for the action is sublime. They really wanted to use the overall CG aspects for the background to make the scale as big as possible with the abilities and fights. And with Kikuchi's understanding of scale really showed the potential of it with the 3D background in most of these cuts, playing around with visual ideas and concepts to make the flow of the action feel more alive with how different this episode's action is structured. The colors that emanates Kakugan's aura was cool, with Kakugan's face popping out. The transitions were really smooth, the camera work especially, switching to different characters fighting, with using like a head being decapitated, or just smooth cuts with Igris' hair thing. Also, the slow-mo S cuts were quite present. I'm just guessing here, but since Tori was supervising the action, it could be his input on this. While yes, the Igris fight, the slow-mo cuts were there, but not to this degree, and it does feel different in terms of the timing of it. Tori does use a lot of slow-mo in a sequence to insinuate that force or anticipation. Same goes for his cuts in Soul Leveling. It could just be Kikuchi, I don't know. The longer action cuts is from him. Kano tweeted that he could animate a long ass cut because of the storyboards, so that is from Kikuchi's boards, and even the less action-oriented scenes, the first couple of seconds of the episode feels different. The camera slowly revealing Cha-hain from behind the truck, kind of like the same thing as what JJK Season 2 did with the elevator scene. The perspective shot of this pickaxe, or even giving more that sense of scale of the room, the camera was placed on the roof, you feel that shockwave effect through the wind effects, and more importantly, the rope, or more importantly, Ki-hoon getting the back shots of all back shots. I complimented the CG backgrounds. The CG high orcs, I think it's fine. It doesn't feel jarring. It could be better, but every CG is not gonna look like a Medalist or Love Life. That's just impossible. I think the movements can feel a bit janky. It's CG, makes sense, but when the CG is on the high orc shadows, it looks better because you don't need the complications of adding shadows on the model since the shadows are simple one-dimensional color, almost Kagenashi, that's easier to mask. The drawing quality this episode was the best this season. I feel like I keep saying that every episode. Hirotaka Tokuda was the one chief ADing. I was expecting him here since there's a lot of monsters. He's the monster designer. The overall despair that the party had on their faces was very detailed, especially these shots. The patches of shadows with less opacitated ones, or just the fully blacked out shadows, really insinuates the expressions with the very angular drawings. Kind of remind me of how Shinobu Nishioka draws his character. Again, everyone's faces are so detailed to show the unnerving nature, but Jinwoo is like, I'm blackfacing. Jinwoo's drawings are amazing, showing that he's the main character, darkening the faces like in the manhwa, and of course Kakagan's drawings are great too. There's some that looked different compared to the usual. I wonder who corrected them. There was also some nice character acting. Well, I don't know if spewing out blood from the mouth and eyes are nice, but it really exaggerates those motions. Ki-hoon's slow head turn that feels very volumetric, and Cha-hain tying her hair was smooth, doing their KyoAni hair tie Sakuga cosplay. The comp is just better this season. The mixing between 2D and 3D is flawless. It doesn't feel like two dimensions clashing. The purple coloring for the shadows look amazing after Jinwoo does his Ryoiki Tenkai. Purple. I don't know what joke to make there. Although this fire / lava textures in this cut was meh, and the blue is still bluing, everything else was great. They're not overdoing it, and the effects reflecting on Jinwoo just makes me Minnesota! Coming back in the action, I'm just gonna sound like a broken record every scene. Very dynamic, good boards, great sense of scale and speed, blah blah blah, you get me? The A-team is working on this episode. A lot of the main animators did a lot for this. I'm not gonna highlight all of them because runtime. This is highly prioritized, so there's a lot more movement even for random orcs and shadows clashing. This sequence is simple, but the execution makes it so impactful. I love the more visible outlines on the shadows since these are hand-drawn shadows. The slow-mo gets the impact across with the big amount of blood effects and the camera basically following Aaron's axe. Igris looks majestic with the ore farming, the timing of it, and also adding little blurs, subtle camera movement, and making the scene more saturated for a bit, adding like a filter, just gives that more of an oomph. Takafumi Tori did some corrections for some scenes and animated a sequence. Tori's animation is Kaneda style, but it mainly acts as a base. He does use a lot of techniques from that style. There was even a Kaneda flair for this episode. He definitely animates in a more fluid nature, not that exaggerated as actual Kaneda animators. He has done a lot in A1, although he's a freelancer. He has good connections with the studio, animating a lot, even being the main animators for some shows. And his best role in A1 being Karen's bus coordinator in Makeine. Smash. You still see with his corrections how snappy and bombastic it is. The camera just makes it more chaotic. The sequence that Tori did was hella energetic. The over-exaggerated posing with the action lines really puts more force on the attacks. I love Jinwoo when he's flipping his dagger and you can see Kakagan's reflection on his dagger. Cool little detail. And with this shot, rather than cutting it, they rotate the camera to Jinwoo's face. The effects by Tori is great. with this wobbly smearing when it's erupting. With the perspective and the snappy nature, you can feel Jinwoo throwing his dagger. The effects animation too, there was a lot of them and looked absolutely stunning with multicolored shading on it. And this cut, the effects feels very Yutapon. Yoshiro Kano's sequence was the most intricate in terms of boards and animation power. You can also see how Iron and Igris fight differently. Iron is just brute forcing, swinging his axe around, with great camera work and choreography, adding heavier line work to get the force across more, while Igris is nimble, flipping around and shit, and switching to different weapons, very strategized. The overall chaotic camera work and absolute flawless 3D backgrounds, like, my god, W. Of course, Kano's snappy action, he's animating Igris and 2 other orcs that's shifting to different perspectives so much. Crazy how easy Kano makes it look. And the colorful impact frames when Tank showed up was crazy looking. This sequence got the scale so well. The chain is of course way bigger compared to Jinwoo. The fast-paced cuts with perspective shots to insinuate the speed, and the camera rotating around Kakagun. Someone had to animate Kakagun rotating around from all angles. This last scene of the fight with this glitchy red effects on it symbolizes the game ended. Wink wink. And also Hajime Nakagawa's little sequence with Kakagun's erect with his own distinct style of shading, very blocky, and the effects, crazy work. There's a lot more to cover this episode, but I don't want to cover all of it because filler video. Also, this guy, I don't remember him. Looks like Oikawa. He's A rank, by the way. While this episode was absolutely phenomenal, it's not the peaks of season 2. There's a couple more. Again, Takeuchi's episode will probably be the best looking. I love Kikuchi, but Takeuchi's is just better for both action and non-action stuff. I'll say this. This episode is like S tier stuff, but Takeuchi, S plus maybe. With his connections, you can expect some very talented people participating. Also now, I'm just gonna farm solo leveling. Maybe next episode, I might not do one because I want to script something else. I'm actually not getting bored doing these episode breakdowns, unlike when I did my season 1's breakdown, because I changed how I script my videos now with these breakdowns. I don't know what video is coming next week. Maybe the A1 Studio video? Maybe the Why Fate Looks Good video? Who knows? If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts about this episode. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. See you guys next time. I'm jaking it. I'm jaking it.
I'm jaking it. I'm jaking.
It's not a surprise that we're 7 episodes in and we got a tease about the ants. Like my anime news impression. After the absolute cinema that was the previous episode blessed us with, we got a more calmer episode and dropping a lot of stuff that is progressing the story, while also again teasing stuff for future events. I thought I wasn't gonna make a video on this episode, but there's a good opportunity to educate you shonen retards. Yeah, you little sussy baka. Okay. We got Manager Wu R farming, we got someone thinking he's on my mask, and we have girls and guys shocked about how strong Daddy Wu is. Thank you for the support last episode. This episode covered chapter 76 to chapter 81. It was pretty faithful. Maybe the Demon Castle part was the one that had a lot of cut content. Some people lost aura. Taegyo lost a lot of aura. He's the Reaper / Fiend Guildmaster, so he's ranked. Fill the blank. They cut out probably the most important reaction, is Hwang Dong-soo realizing that Jinwoo is still alive. Also, Juhee. She was the day one for Jinwoo. I'm just saying. We saw Jinwoo actually trying to sell the Eye of Avarice. The paparazzi was not shown in the anime. Jina's expressions was hilarious in the manhwa. Jinho's dad went to the hospital. They cut out the part that he was actually asleep for 2 days straight after he collapsed. He got the same sickness as Jinwoo's mom. A massive L for A1 for not having the horses for the guards. I'm kidding, it's probably unnecessary to draw them, so that's why they didn't do it. Jinwoo is at floor 80 right now in the Demon Castle this episode. He's been on this floor specifically for 2 days straight. Also, the funniest thing that got changed in the anime, Jinwoo is outside Jinha's room talking to his shadows, but in the manhwa, Jinwoo is just beside her bed going,
okay if I touch you?
This episode was directed and storyboarded by Hiromu Oshiro, who also did episode 8 of season 1 of Solo Leveling, that visually looked one of the best of that season, even if it was a low priority episode. And he did both of Solo Leveling's endings. He was the director, storyboarder, motion graphics, photography, editing, and 3D CG for it. He is from Production IG, but he has worked on a lot of Kaneko projects in A1, like SAO. As someone who is not just a regular storyboarder and director, he sometimes does his own CG and compositing. He has a very good grasp on how aesthetically and visually pleasing his episode can look because he has experience as a compositing artist. This shows why sometimes there's directors that can have that distinct style where they are helming an episode, not just how good its direction or storyboards is the color script / compositing itself. They can communicate to the compositing team to be more precise of their style, because being an episode director, you are overseeing the episode, or you can lay out the color / color script on how you want to make a scene look as good as you want through the storyboards. Sometimes boards are just to lay out how a scene will look, but some people can also make the storyboards as the color tone / script for it to communicate it better for the final product. Oshiro's traits is men, zooming in on a lot of men and women sometimes. I'm kidding. But you can see how good Oshiro's boards is, distorting a lot of the background almost like a fisheye lens. The framing work itself making the scale feel more wider, or just a simple panning shot that feels more than that. We have to talk about the backgrounds. Shits look so beautiful. I mean, look at the water here. I want to swim in it. And drown because I can't swim. The thing I really love about his boards is he plays around with perspective shots that looks good, while also placing the camera on like where the character is going rather than simple close-up shots or following the character. Example, Jinwoo falling down while the camera is already down there. The monster breaking the glass, it's clever placement putting the camera inside of the building to make more force of the glass breaking, or this shadow jumping off of a building, like the little detail that the light post flickered. Even for the demon castle parts, the overhanded shots or just normal looking shots that creates more depth than usual. Oshiro does use a lot of CG quite a lot. You can see by his own directorial works, like for the Soul Leveling endings, or other little projects by him, like the Reglow music video, I think. And we got to see some nice little usage of the 3D background that looks really smooth so that we can showcase the Shadow Army more. The episode was definitely a low priority episode. There was inconsistent looking drawings. Why did Mr. Song look like that? Also, they forgot to fill the color on Jinho's neck. Like, this is how it should look like with the black, but it's just a line here. Jackie Furuzumi is chief ADing this episode. I'm not the biggest fan of her drawings. It's very sharp chinned with the face elongated. Elongmus? Eloma? My name is Eloma. I'm Asian, that's not offensive. It's not a bad drawing like some other stuff, but it's just not to my liking. Although some people point out that the side profile looks good, and yeah, it does look good. Jinwoo's Demon Castle drawing style is also good. Not my favorite, but good. Probably the best drawing this episode is the one shot of that ant from a certain island. Okay, no, never mind. The pacing can be a bit iffy at times, especially in the Demon Castle parts. They did cut some parts from the manga, so that's probably why it felt rushed, but again, nothing too crazy. Oh, they adapted it from the novel, Shinji! Shut up! I know. The most interesting part about the animation is that the episode was solo key animated by Mitsuaki Hori. He doesn't really have much of a track record of being a key animator, besides his work in episode 12 of Soul Leveling called Arise. My dick. While some of it was corrected by Kano, you can still see his animation with his distinct timing and effects. Same goes for today's episode. While again there's limitations, the action was still actioning with great effects, impact frames after Tusk's attack with the Orb of Avarice, animating a closing door with some complex mechanically closing door system, I don't know, but it looks good. And this little shadow appearing that's all 2D, even the effects, nice. Before you blue lock enjoy saying, oh my god, only one animator worked on this episode? You lucky. Only one person worked on 5 episodes in season 2. No. You're just dumb. already used my R-word card this video. There is still 29 second key animators plus 4 studios for this episode. And of course, in-betweeners, chief AD, and animation directors that corrects the drawings. But still, Hori creating all the layouts and Genga himself with the second key animators on deck. It's pretty surprising that a solo key animation episode can be envisioned for a Aniplex project at least. This definitely is for resource managing, so the time and resources can be more focused on the Jeju Island arc or even the next episode. Solo key animation episodes can be pretty rare nowadays. The last one from what I know is probably Slime Season 3 Episode 12 by Yasuto Hirohara. An episode like this does take more time because you don't have different layout artists and key animators doing different stuff at the same time. There's only one person doing the layout and Genga stuff, but a massive positive is saving resources for future episodes so the other talents can focus on other high priority episodes. But sometimes there's also outliers that the solo key animated episodes can be one of the highlights of the series, like Mushoku Tensei episode 5 and maybe some Yamano Susume episodes. There's a thing that some few of openings and endings are by one person. The popular example is Jima Ebata. Most of the openings and endings on Slime are directed, storyboarded, animation directed, and key animated by himself. Norimitsu Suzuki is a popular example of doing endings by himself. Same goes for him again. He directed a storyboarded solo key animation. You get me. Or you can be like Verkreek that did the special ending in season 3 of Kaguya. That did... oh god, there's a lot. Accessory design, animation directed, art design, character design, color design, directed, solo key animated, storyboarded. Yes, that took him 8 months to finish that ending. I'll explain it a bit more. If you see on the top left, I usually have the person that did the key animation. Usually the person that gets credited as this is the person that does the layout for the scene. Even if the key animation phase or the Genga phase is by a different person, the credits or the key animation that's displayed is mostly focused to the person that did the layout. Second key animator's job is to clean up the key animator's work if the drawings is still rough, since they probably don't have time, or just draw some of the Genga that was actually not finished yet. I usually break down more the animation, but there wasn't really much to talk about or analyze, so a bit different switch so you guys can understand the solo key animation role a bit more. Still, a good episode. Oshiro and Hori definitely saved it. Unfortunate because Hiromu Oshiro is not doing a high prioritized episode, since if he does, he can probably make the best looking episode visually in Soul Leveling. Next episode is gonna be hype, a fight with a certain someone from the opening. People are saying it's better than episode 6. Of course, I know what's going to happen. I don't want to get my hopes up yet, but Chromafire, I know you're watching. Give me some of the pictures or leaks. Or just a full episode. My DMs are open. Hi for the next episode. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts on this episode. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. What the fuck? See you guys next time.
兄くんもよしよしシセもお返し
Soul Leveling Season 2 Episode 8 was another high priority episode with not much manpower in terms of animators. It's the power of having a couple of animators do a lot in one episode. This was the hypest shit I've seen this year, besides the random Railgun Season 4 announcement. So I can see Kuroko sexually harassing Misaka again. I think as a whole, episode 6 is still better, while parts of episode 8 was a display of absolute cinema while getting each other's wet. We got a hype fight while in the background everything is slowly building up to the 4th Jeju Island raid, with bringing in some new characters into the mix. Also, plug, follow me on Twitch. I stream a day before the episode dropped and 2 days after the episode dropped, I think. We get really sexual there. So yeah. Description. This episode covered chapter 82 to 87, with the Demon Castle and Jeju Island raid bouncing between each other. Some content was cut. We see more about the ants invading the island, where a couple of hunters were trying to fight it, and the meetings where a lot of the cut content is. Well, the more important ones. Manju Wu was telling Gogunhee that a couple of hunters were interested of participating in the raid, like Hwang Dong-soo, because he's down bad for Jinwoo. maybe he's gonna use a full dive to be in the raid while he's in the hospital. And a national level hunter was also interested. All of his dialogue, or basically his appearance, was not in the anime yet. Same goes for Yuji stuff, the Draw Sword Guildmaster. Some of it was cut, although not important, and the talk with Gogunji and a certain a certain national level hunter was also cut. This Choi and Chahin scene was original. The dinner with Essel's dad was cut, although I wanted to see Essel with this drip in the anime. Of course, they speedrun Jinwoo's committing genocide on the Demon Castle. Baron and the Wyvern's design is different, especially Baron, but it was still good in the anime to not overcomplicate the design, so it's easier to animate. In the anime, Baron just palmed Jinwoo with his head. They made it look a bit more of a struggle in the anime fighting Baron. I think you guys already know this, the rain was not in the manhwa. Really made use of the environment to enhance the fight. The episode had two storyboarders. Part A was by Yuka Kuroda and Part B was by Yoshihiro Kano. It was directed by Tatsuya Sasaki that also directed season 2 episode 3, another action focused episode. By the way, if you don't know the Part A and Part B shit, Part B starts after the commercial ends. Well, most of you don't see it because you're not watching it in television in Japan. Basically, this shot of Baron, then after this cut, that's where Part B starts. Yuka Kuroda is an amazing animator, mainly focusing on effects, but still can do really good action. She's very involved in Kinema Setcher stuff, being main animators for some shows, or just contributing a lot. Same goes for A1. She has animated in some of their shows, and more importantly, SAO. That's why she's here and has contributed in previous episodes of Soul Leveling. For her part, it's nothing too crazy in terms of boards. Besides this, you can see the Tusk's effects. Yeah, there was some really neat looking boards playing around with different perspectives or a lot of overhead shots to show how big certain room is. I love the reveal for Essel, the hair animation, and focusing more on her hair first than the face. I really wish they sold this moment a bit more with Essel glitching. There was only one like warped looking shot that was really it. I feel like they could have done this moment more eerie for us with more of the distorted backgrounds or perspectives. Maybe zooming into Essel's mouth and making the voice filter hella loud. I don't know. It felt a bit standard in terms of the storyboards. Same goes for Baran and the Wyvern making the entrance with this very simplistic shape at first, with just being a big blob, but still gets the speed across. The overall comp and background are standard. I mean, look at this overview of the island. Crazy. It just makes you wonder how dogshit My Hero's art direction was, and I still haven't watched Failure Frames, but my god, that shit's art direction is mind-numbingly bad. There was also two soundtracks that I haven't heard yet in Soul Leveling. I don't know if it was new or not. The comedic OST for Essel and Jinwoo, and the other one with the creepy piano track playing for the ant going on a massacre. Although again, why don't they just make the music a bit louder? Like, I think Soul Leveling's audio side, like the effects, VAs, music, is still good, but it's definitely the weaker aspect for the production. It doesn't give that oomph. Shows like 100 Girlfriends, Zenshu getting married to the girl I hate is probably the best this season in terms of audio aspect. I even tweeted out how surprisingly good the direction is for the girl I hate. Anyways, Part B. Kano Cinema. You guys probably know who Kano is, an amazing action animator and very handsome man. Done a lot of standout stuff for shows or just carrying a show. He's a very fast animator, he even said it himself, or getting praise of how fast he is at drawing by Kaneko, the Soul Leveling producer in A1. He storyboarded the Baron versus Jinwoo fight and also animated basically 3 minutes worth of content with correcting some of the earlier fights. Or basically he supervised and did layouts of over 110 different cuts. You can really see how good Kano's action boards are at creating the scale and how it's constructed, really capturing the destructiveness of certain attacks, and the camera work is amazing. Here's two great scenes, for example, of good camera work. This simple shot, the fact that it's so bombastic, it's the tag team aspect of different shadows jumping in, and also the background is not moving. Well, it is, but the effects in the back add so much. Or just adding the background itself, you can see this part is one layer and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, which is the two background slash floor here, and the other two with the fight and the standstill monsters. And Tusk's gigantic feet is added in post. It's like drawing or editing, you have different layers. This shot also, we focus on these characters fighting in the front, and when the shadows appeared from the top ropes, the backgrounds that was initially blurred is unblurred while the camera is moving up. The technically more impressive parts is the amount of hand-drawn effects and also the 2D creatures, which it's so leveling, hand-drawn creatures. Not really surprising. The amount of effects displayed this episode is crazy. Like, I don't remember a shot with effects done in post besides the rain. Displaying the giant firepower that some characters have, like Baron and Tusk. I keep forgetting how big Tusk can get, and they capture it amazingly with the effects, with very simple coloring that pops. Of course, it's thanks to some of the animators for the effects. Ryuta Saito did some of the cuts, even animating the doors for the monsters that Baron summoned. Yuka Kuroda did this insane sequence of Baron's lightning covering the clouds with a bit more complex coloring on the clouds and lightning. Same goes for this shot with the lightning and this explosion. It's so much more slower pace compared to the other ones. I love it. Kuroda's effects is crazy. You can probably see it more of her work in Tawaru. And see Oihara getting sexually harassed by Saten. The drawings this episode looks great. I don't know much of these chief ADs that's on this episode, so I can't really track who did who, but you can probably see the overall drawing style is a bit different, which I really like. Jinwoo's face structure. It's not long or very sharp. It's still sharp, the chin monarch, while accompanying the good-looking drawings with great shading. Essel's design too, her face is pretty short compared to others. I don't know if this is actually her design. I don't think Essel's design sheet is out, but good. Yeah, there's some iffy drawings here and there. Talking more about the fight, again, animating so many different monsters and shadows that's all different proportioned is so hard, but Kano is just a god. I think what action animators can really have a good grasp on while storyboarding is the camera work. They really use the camera to their advantage, following different characters to insinuate an attack, or a very fast-paced action that's cutting a lot, but you can still follow it. It's also complemented with Kano's animation, with the very snappy slash choppy timed action or effects. Kano is also very good at effects. He also drew a lot of the background animation. A lot of them, which is just the icing on the cake. You can see some of the raindrops are actually hand-drawn and some aren't. Example, this Esso shot, you can see the rain that's interacting with her is hand-drawn. It's just constantly repeating, while the rain that's covering the screen basically is done in post, or it's compositing, or you can see it through Kano's layout. This shot, you can see small rain sparks flying around with Baron and Jinwoo. In the LO, that means it's hand-drawn. Same goes for these raindrops in front that's moving sideways. While again, the rain that's covering the screen is not in the LO. That means it's done in post. Yeah. Now, the controversial thing, something penis. The last 2 minutes of Jinwoo vs Baron, people have mixed opinions about this. This is my objective point of view. I think Kano's animation is still amazing. The choreography, snappy timing, background animation, drawing quality, the effects work, drawing individual raindrops, and that last uppercut, the paintbrush style, the impactfulness with the impact frames afterwards with the red background. Just crazy animation power from him. What I want to point out, it's the pacing, visibility, and other stuff. It is definitely hard to follow the fight. The fast-paced action accompanied with Kano's choppy style, I don't think it's Kano's choppy style that's making it unreadable. The Berkoyi vs Vecta fight was the same with how it's structured, but very followable. Now, this is not some of those Twitter tards going, "My eyes! I can't see the Demon Slayer fights!" And also the over-excessive amount of raindrops is a bit much at times. It can work, but not all the time. There's a couple of problems. The color design, everything is very desaturated. The color, it's all very graded basically, which should be good to make the characters pop more, especially Baron since he's mostly purple and gold, but it really doesn't. Also, Kano did Ichigo vs Yuhaba, which looks quite similar, the very desaturated colors and rain, but that fight is still followable because it's mostly the comp and camera work. The camera work is very all over the place, barely keeping up with the fight, and it's quite fast, but I think it's mostly the comp for the rain. The rain is like a stormy rain. A lot of raindrops filled the screen. It's a bit thick. There's too much. The rain in the Bleach fight, you can see it's there, but it doesn't feel overpowering. It feels like it's in the background. Here's two examples for fights with rain. I know it's not as fast paced and the power scaling is different. One of the beginning fights, the rain is there, but again, doesn't feel overpowering. Feels like they dimmed down the opacity for the rain. It's not as extreme, and this fight also slow-mo some of the sequences, so you can see how fast they are going, with the rain more slowed down. This Kizumonogatari fight with Araragi and I don't remember. The rain bouncing off the characters is a lot, so many effects. But again, the rain done in pose is not that thick, doesn't disrupt it at all. It's also because the characters pop a lot more with the coloring and line coloring compared to the background. This episode was still hella hype, even with the stuff that wasn't poggers. I still think overall episode 6 is better, but the last couple of minutes of episode 8 was peak soul leveling. Jeju Island arc starts next week. Next month is gonna be hype for soul leveling. And for my bank account, don't want to ramble on much because I have to edit this shit. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts on this episode. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys next time. Soul Leveling Season 2 Episode 9 was so emotional. For my penis because I got to see Heejin again. This was definitely the best looking non-action oriented episode in Soul Leveling, not just season 2. Usually some of the more heavy dialogue episode is just really good aesthetics and that's that. But this week, there's so much character acting stuff for Soul Leveling standards. The Jeju Island arc starts this week and it's already starting amazingly. I know people in my comments saying, why are you complaining about a non-action episode looking bad? They don't need to put budget. Mods.
Crush the skull, thank you.
Yes, this show's not a Sakuga Fest. They need to allocate their resources appropriately because the main soul leveling team is not the biggest ever. I don't need a Bochi the Rock Yamano Susume Kai Ikarashi masterpiece. I just need an overall good, consistent episode that doesn't feel stiff and having some interesting ideas. Like Jinha's yeah! This episode covered chapter 88 to chapter 91. It was actually very faithful to the manhwa with some not really important cut content stuff, and the anime also elevated some scenes, although there is stuff that the anime cut that is good information, like with Baron's loot drops. The Demon Ruler's Ring gives you plus 20 sense and plus 20 intelligence, while additionally if both the ring and earring are equipped, buff all stats by plus 10, and the longsword that Baron wielded can summon a storm of endless lightning, like what they showcased in the previous episode. The dagger's attack is plus 20. Additionally, attack will apply to each dagger by the amount of strength stats that you have. The elixir of life crafting was very fast. It's not like a Clash of Clans where you have to wait 2 weeks for a random build upgrade to finish. The elixir of life actually didn't use all the ingredients. The Demon King's Blood and the World Tree Fragment, it only used some of it, while only the spring water that's completely gone, which I don't remember where Jinwoo got it from. They actually hinted that the Wyvern can be a rise in the last episode, although in the manhwa it's a way more bigger hint compared to the anime. Gogun he actually sensed Jinwoo returning from the Demon Castle, and news outlets saw a side of Kaiser. That was funny. The mom waking up, again, that was extended in the anime. Really great that they did that. I'll get into more detail soon. There's some anime original stuff, and they unfortunately cut the translator fighting, not really fighting, Park Jonsu, the Knight's Guildmaster, on which whoever grabs the other person's wrists wins. Although people are saying that this actually didn't exist in the novel. An interesting thing that they cut in the anime is that this guy with the gas mask, the mask is not for aura farming. He has the same sensitive nose as Cha Hain, but his thing is even worse since he has a fucking gas mask on. This episode was storyboarded and directed by Yuya Horiuchi with a surprisingly strong key animation staff list, some well-known freelancers, and also the director himself animated scene here. Horiuchi also directed and boarded the first episode of season Season 2. Probably one of the stronger storyboard artists from the main Soul Leveling team, since he has done quite a bit of episodes for this show. I've talked about Horiuchi's traits as a storyboarder in the first episode video, but wait, don't watch that. This video will probably get better CPM. So watch this instead. This is definitely a more prioritized episode since there was quite a bit more movement and intricate boards that can take a bit more time than usual. Of course, it's a non-action episode, it's less demanding, but there's a lot of interesting things here. I've stated before how Horiuchi likes having objects or the background itself interfering with the camera to get the environment more involved or just telling more than one story, like them and the trash or characters looking up, then you see a hint of the TV because Gogani looks hella attractive. Simple things like that to create that compressed space that Jinwoo is feeling, or just these shots because it looks cool. Why not? And to create certain scenes more engaging with different angles. I mean, look at this shot of Byung-gu. The reflection of the beer makes his design wibbly wobbly. It's just such a nice ad. Yes, someone had to animate a distorted Byung-gu that has to make sense with the beer pouring. One of the best things that Horiuchi utilized is the lighting / shading to give more metaphors or the vibe of certain scenes. It also helps that the art direction and overall comp this episode looks a bit better than usual. Shots like these is such a unique idea. I think this shot is telling that the glass reflection is acting like Byung-gu, seeing the red table as overseeing a lot of blood, correlating with the dialogue that Byung-gu don't want to see blood anymore. Since this is his cup from this point of view, and everything that was mentioned is accumulated in this hospital scene, the lighting itself says a lot about Jinwoo's state right now. You can say that this light is the light of uncertainty. I know, I'm such a god at literature. Fuck's sake. The light reflecting Jinwoo kind of serves as his safe spot, but when he's uncertain about the elixir will work or not, his hand shakes and he's in the darkness now compared to when he was sitting down. Then when he comes back to the chair, the lighting casted on him is now half and half in the darkness and the light. Kind of reminds you of a certain character. You can feel through his voice how anxious he is, and we cut to Jinna stating that the wind feels warm. Then we get a smooth transition with the moon staying in the same place. I forgot what this is called. And the light slowly engulfs Mom with the wind, and the reveal of all reveals, she's finally awake. The real Chin Monarch. The color design and comp for this scene too, it's blue, but the blue is not overpowering like usual because this blue is more like a turquoise blue than a deep blue. The way they elevated the scene compared to the manhwa, and Horiuchi's direction also, not just the storyboards alone, the hard silence when we cut to the hospital, and of course the soundtrack by Sawano, I don't know. Title Bun also killed it, like always. And the character acting itself, Jinwoo crying, is animated by the series director himself, Shinsuke Nakashige. And I love that it's such a simple shot for this scene, so the animation can speak for itself. Amazing work. The most surprising thing about this episode is the drawing quality. Chiaki Furuzumi is the chief AD. I've stated a lot that I'm not the biggest fan of her drawings. It's not that it's bad, it's just her style, which I'm not the biggest fan. But this episode, I have zero complaints about the design. Maybe the shot of Essel was but besides that, everything looks so fucking good. Even Jinna with the sharp chin, it looks amazing, and every shot that Jinwoo is in is magnificent work from Furuzumi. I thought from the preview itself, it was Tokuda. We got a bit of action this episode, and this weird Choi walk cycle. Aaron Rodriguez animated the first couple of scenes of Baek and Dongwook. I love the flow of the fight, the timing with the CG background, and Horiuchi's action boards is great. While it's nothing too crazy, the added smears really get the swing across more. Also, a couple of seconds of Baek here look CGI. The movement, you see how his whole body is swinging, especially his hand. It could be that Aaron used CG reference for this scene, so it's easier to get the proportions down. CG reference means that he just goes to Blender to make the models and then he referenced it. It's definitely still 2D, but there's probably some CG elements beforehand. Still looks great though. Same goes for this cut. The force behind the punch accompanied with the impact frames and spearing. Very nice little action cuts. While this is just merely a setup episode for the Jeju Island raid, we can't deny the quality for the start of the Jeju Island arc is already amazing. Excited for the raid. I can't wait to see the team cooking. Hopefully we get to see more Takafumi Tori. He has been lacking in terms of output compared to last season. And of course Takeuchi. Again, it's still not confirmed he's storyboarding an episode, but it's likely he will be. If Takeuchi is directing an episode, then that episode has probably been done production for a while. Since Takeuchi is directing another anime this season, maybe this episode that he's doing could have been done months before season 2 even aired. Same goes for Yuya Horiuchi, right? He has a show that he's directing that's gonna air October this year, and he still directed 2 episodes of Soul Leveling this season. I don't know if I sound different or not. It's Ramadan, so if I sound a bit unenergized, you know why. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts about this episode. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. You know, life is hard. Because you gotta like
When
understand
I was
that.
jorking it, I suddenly remember I lost my arm in a factory accident.
Soul Leveling Season 2 Episode 10 finally showed the S-Rank Hunters scrapping with the main event of Jinwoo vs Goto Yuji and the start of the Jeju Island raid. That's already going badly. This was probably a medium priority episode, although some inconsistencies was definitely present. The anime did a better job showing a lot of the different POVs of the S-Rank Hunters preparing for the raid, while Jinwoo is just stalking them with his shadows. On other news, we got people crying about last episode having 2x the dislikes. I'll be honest with you, I've never cared about Crunchyroll or IMDb ratings. I only care about my anime list. Even then, you shouldn't take that seriously. And Vincent randomly appearing in ReZero. Don't worry guys, we have Takeuchi. And Ryu Araki. Maybe. And Verkreek. Maybe. And Zheng Shihyung. Maybe. And Somiya. Okay. I'll stop. This episode covered chapter 92 to 96. Most of them are just one-off dialogue cuts, so I'll just highlight the more important ones. Ryuji was very petrified with Jinwoo's aura when he was about to punch him. For some reason, Byung-gu was not in the list yet for the raid, since in the manhwa when Ryuji was talking with Sugimoto, Drawback Sword Submaster, he said 16 S-rank hunters, but in the anime he said 15 S-ranks because Byung-gu is not there yet. To surprise Beck, I guess, it's a cool change. They take a bit more time to kind of see more of his intentions of watching children.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like.
So like protect them from the ants and stuff. As I've said, there was some anime original stuff to fully see others' perspective on the raid or Jinwoo. Same goes for Juhi. We kind of build it a bit more that she's joining the defense line, while in the manhwa she was just, oh, she's there. Anyways, Choi. Woo! Also, pre-evolved Ant King is original content. Woo! Although the color design looks a bit iffy, but yeah. On the other side, Jinwoo's content was different. He was just ego surfing while taking a walk. Then Jinho showed their new office for their guild, and all of a sudden Jinwoo just vanished to confront the serial killer that was near where his family lived. That's why in episode 7, Jinwoo had his shadows search the nearby areas. I think they changed it to a heartwarming dinner with the fam. The manhwa just was like, no, where's my baby blackfacing? I want to see Jinwoo blackfacing. They cut Choi's cool ass entrance with him falling down with his flames, then just eradicating everything. Unfortunate. To give more evaluation, the defense lines consist of basically 3 lines. One is in the mainland with all the lower rank hunters. Then the ships consist of mostly A ranks with B ranks. And of course the S ranks is in the island. Also the flame net thing that Choi set up is so ants that's below B rank can't go through the barrier. Don't worry, if they go through the net, we have the Shadow Garden. So everything is fine. Oh shit. The episode was directed and storyboarded by Hirotaka Tokuda. Tokuda is a regular for Solo Leveling. He has previously done episode 9 and storyboarded the first half of episode 1 of season 1. He also is the monster designer and is one of the main chief animation directors for Solo Leveling. A very capable action animator. He has done a lot of action in his time. That's why there's no action AD this episode. He can do it himself. The non-action stuff, there's really not much to talk about. Some cool overhead shots, nothing too special. I love how they revealed the girl getting beheaded. Not the beheading part, because in the manhwa, the guy just turned around and girl lost his head. It's different, and the very stylistic drawing of the Ant King aura looks crazy. The comp and color design were really good, especially some scenes. Looks different than usual. We saw day, night, evening, every single one. It looks really good. Go Gun-hee looking out the window, the blur on the background to focus more on him, and the blue on him looks good. The turquoise tint on everything looks really nice. I didn't know the sky can turn like blue turquoisey. It's probably early in the morning from Google searching, and the sun here with the island reflecting very visible. It creates this like warm atmosphere on everything getting ready. The art direction is great as always, although I do see some of the background looking unfinished, or that's just how they wanted to paint it. I don't know. The cave parts doesn't look like the more detailed cave from previous episodes. The lines that's conveying depth for the cracks doesn't create that depth, but anyways. I'm nitpicking. For the action stuff, I really love how Tokuda flows his action. You can feel it's an actual 4v4 with fights disrupting or interfering each other. The overall usage of the 3D background, Tokuda used it very effectively with more longer shots that's rotating a lot, so you don't need to cut everything. Like example, this sequence, this guy is charging, then we zoom into the eye to rotate the perspective. Or this one where we interfere a fight, rather than cutting, the camera slowly moving upwards, revealing Dongwook's large ass feet. Then we kind of switch the tempo for Goto versus Jinwoo. The scale or the camera use is far more upwards just to convey how strong these two are compared to the other S-rank hunters by just their fast attacks. Like this shot, you can feel the speed of Goto's attack, although Goto's fabric animation is repeated a lot, but most people are just gonna focus on the effects, which are not repeated. The drawing quality this episode is great, but something feels different. The more evident thing is Jinwoo's drawing. Tokuda is the chief AD this episode. He's on par with Tomoko Sudo's corrections. I love his corrections with the Guinness Book of World Records of the longest neck on deck. Again, the overall drawing feels different. Maybe it's because it's more simpler, less amount of lines or less thicker lines. Sometimes you see Jinwoo looking a bit younger, because one of the most important things about making a person looking younger or older is the jawline or facial structure. You have a more flat rounded jawline for lolly characters, or for teenagers it's more defined. You get the idea? Or just don't do any of that. It could be maybe because Tokuda is not just the chief AD this episode, he's also the episode director, or it could be just the schedule is iffy. The amount of ADs this episode is concerning. You have 14 ADs and a studio. Of course, it's the second half of the season, so the schedule is more tighter than your mom's with JJ. Talking more about the animation, you can feel the difference, the power slash style for different S rank, the more nimble and brute force ones. Big transformation is so clean. Yuka Kuroda animated the smooth transition with the nice pink lightning, and the way she did his transformation using very heavy shading that's changing to different spots every frame. It's not impact frames, by the way. And the hair slowly changing color with the added wind effects after Beck transform. Even in this shot, the effects is flickering a lot, but it adds a lot of force for Beck's attack, with also the timing is almost in slow-mo, with the blow, and the release is so good with, again, a lot of effects. And this shortcut of his hand, you can see how snappy the movement is, and when you slow it down, the fur actually acts more as mirrors to insinuate the rapid speed of the fur covering his hand. And when everything is stationary, the fur is actually acting like fur. I'll be honest, some of the rush attacks are but some are really good. Probably my favorite cut this episode, Hirokatsu Maruyama's sequence with Cha-Hain. The frantic motion that she's doing, but also feels very nimble and calculated. Okay, I was gonna sniff the fuck out of my mic, but that's too much. I'll do it for Hiji though. I've mentioned back then how Maruyama loves using wind effects and his very stretchy smears. You can see it here, just full body action. You love to see it. Cha throwing all the kicks, and of course the smears help a lot, making it smoother. The camera shaking too adds a lot. The purple color on this looks great. I like the timing. Also the slow zoom on Cha with the camera in this guy's hand basically. Then we pick up the speed when Cha turns around with the eye flare. If you compare her fighting style to this guy's fighting style, it's very frantic, more so crazy. I mean, he's not there basically. You can see it here. Well, for me at least, it's very obvious a more younger slash newer gen animator done this cut. It's by Kazuma. The fast-paced perspective change goes crazy. Started from the eye, then rapidly tracks the arm, then he just fucking wielded back that punch. Very energetic with the cubic debris afterwards. Same goes for this cut, and I love the camera just rotates from his POV. This part is still unknown who did it. It could be Tokuda or Takafumi Tori. I don't know yet. But the fast snappy exchange with the camera rotating, following them is great. We also sometimes zoom into their faces. And Goto's attack is confirmed by Tori. The impact frames, the simpler shape when Goto is charging to Jinwoo. He's just a fucking thick ass black line. Tokuda's boards here are nice too. We zoom into Jinwoo's eyes, that's reflecting Goto. Then we switch to Goto's perspective very smoothly. One last thing that's not on Boru, because
When I was jorking it,
is Choi's fire attack. This could be Kazunori Ozawa. It's very familiar with some of his other cuts. He's also an addict of animating effects, especially explosions. He was basically the main animator for Megumin's explosions in Konosuba. There's so many layers. There's like 4 different colors and different shapes with the streaky lines or the fire bubble thing. It's crazy work from him, and the explosion is amazing too. Very detailed explosion. The Jeju Island raid is starting, and hopefully these next 2 episodes is gonna go crazy. People are saying the last episode is more about the aftermath and revealing more plot related stuff for next season. Basically there's next episode fight, then the fight after that episode is what most people are waiting for. Same goes for me. I don't know who will do it. Hopefully Takeuchi. We prage. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts on this episode. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. I want to be a YouTuber.
Mr. Kimura, why did you decide to become a high school teacher?
Cause I like high school girls, that's why!
Solo Leveling Season 2 Episode 11 was good. Very good, although I was expecting a lot more considering the material it's adapting. While there was a lot of rough edges, overall the episode is still great. Animation wise, there is a lot to be desired. The overall direction really helped at elevating some scenes. Yes, I explained it last video, this was probably quite a rushed episode. A lot of ADs and assistant ADs are here, so we prayed for next episode. A lot of people are definitely a bit disappointed about this. I still think it's really good for Solo Leveling standards. Also, I forgot to mention Akari's backstory, her sister having the eternal sleep, and the Ant King did her dirty. By the way, this is from the game, it's not from the manhwa. And another news, they fumbled for not getting UFO table. Ooh, again, I don't want to explain anything. Zero's plot is Natsuki Subaru suddenly summoned to this episode covered the last couple of pages of chapter 96 to chapter 100. There was not much caught content stuff because schedule is tight. They probably had to do just one-to-one with the manhwa. Yes, I know they adapted it from the novel, but the core team probably still uses the manhwa as reference. They probably sometimes just stamp the manhwa panels in the storyboards itself. You think this shot, the storyboarder just thought of it randomly, but it miraculously looks the same as the manhwa panel? Coincidence? No. This scene, while in the anime, it was just a basic effect. The manhwa was more specific about what buffs certain characters got. Dongwook and the cameraman got defense, Beck strength, Choi magic, maybe? Taegyo agility, Cha-Hain, I don't know. attack. Also, Bic called it a black ant. That's a bluer ant. You racist piece of shit. They cut this old couple, which could be implying that these are Unsok's parents. Maybe. Don't quote me on this. But she said it's to avenge our son. And the only person that we know died in the Jeju Island raid, that was a dude back then, was Unsok. So I don't know if that's actually it. Byung-gu, while yes, he's a healer, his combat rank is somewhere between A or B rank, since the A rank cameraman was kind of shocked of how fierce he is. In the coast of China, we get to see the talks of certain people about Goto Ryuji being desperate at trying to be a national level hunter, and also might backfire for Ryuji himself. It was basically plan A of them getting Goto Ryuji to national level hunter status for Japan, but if everything didn't go well, plan B is to betray Korea. Although they didn't fully show it, I don't know if they will next episode, but from this shot of Goto's sword breaking, that's probably an implication of something. They changed Jinwoo's position from a random street to on top of a building. All the 12-year-olds going, "Oh my god, Aura, Aura, Chin Aura!" Before breaking down the episode, people are saying a lot about the schedule after this episode aired. There's some scenes here and there that kind of had to get nerfed, like Chaehaen's final attack, or some cuts changing that feels like there's something more. It's the same thing with the recent ReZero episode. Again, the production time is tighter. So tight. Okay, sorry. For this season, the fact that we already got 2 episodes that's on the same level as the Igris fight, or even better, is insane. Soul Leveling team don't have the same manpower as, let's say, JJK Season 2. JJK Season 2 basically had the whole new gen industry working on it, and not just that, they also had the biggest episode in terms of talent, not just in anime, but in the whole animation space. So what Soul Leveling needs to do is allocate their resources well. Yes, some episodes might get sacrificed. It's unfortunate, but hopefully it pays off. You don't want it to be like Kojima, or now more well known as Bug Films, where they sacrifice a lot of the episodes, outsourcing them, or even sacrificing the schedule, because sometimes they put too much time and resources in some episodes, like Zom 100 episode 1, Summertime Rendering episode 15, or some Komi-san episodes. That's why people are worried about Witch Hat Atelier. I don't want to go more in depth because runtime, so I'll link Sultan's thread on this. He made a really good thread. Some parts I don't agree on, but it's like 90% I agree on, so yeah. If you want to see more of Soul Leveling's scheduling fiasco, go there. Anyways, this episode was storyboarded and directed by Kento Toya, same person who did Season 2 episode 15, and even if this episode was handicapped by the tighter production, there was still some very good scenes that was constructed nicely, whether it's using slow motion, music placements, or neat visual IDs using different color palettes. Toya really does love implementing environmental shots that really gets the scale across a bit more. It can be 3D aerial shots or an illustrated background just spinning in different directions. It's called a parallax scrolling. Thank you, Chromafire. Although at times the execution can falter, the re-storyboarded death of Akari is way better compared to last episode. The hazy monochromatic coloring to specify that her head got cleaved, and the bloom effect on the very white background casting on the darker parts of this scene, with a little bit of autofocus blurring. With Toya's exceptional boards of moving an illustrated background, same goes with episode 8. This is one layer, then the characters is the second layer, then the background. Although it's limited, the impact is there, with the Ant King speed captured really well, even if he's just a simple thick line that's moving around very fast. Also, Ant King is voiced by the same person as Regulus. At least he can be overpowered here, while not acting like hot shit. But in ReZero, he's doing the definition of liking girls, not from the outside, but from the inside. Literally. Even if scenes lacked animation prowess, it's still very interesting at times for the action too. The animation can spike here and there, but the way it's constructed, you still feel the sheer firepower that Choi has with great effects and amazing draftsmanship by Pseudo, or Beck going berserk. Maybe Beck was the one that was underwhelming, but I love this mirroring where it like flickered sideways for a bit. Looks really cool. Cha-haen got the most sauce. Tetsuya Akatsu animated this. The perspective shots really get the scale or distance across. Also animating the spider in 2D at a downwards angle with Cha-haen flying around in sometimes ones, and this mirroring is very bold with her turning into like a Millennium Falcon. The final attack making the lighting brighter and her eyes too. Mae Dongwook moved quite a lot to insinuate how heavy he is and even exaggerating his attack, like making his weapon look more elastic to give the weight and force of the attack. It's basically a fight with really good boards, but the animation at times and overall execution can be lacking. Although the CG ants is good, not saying it's up there with JC Staff and Mappa's in-house CG team. It can be a bit wonky at times, but mostly it's good to portray all these ends so you don't have to individually hand draw it. Subsequent that with Tomoko Sudo's amazing draftsmanship, the desperation and concerning expressions, Sudo really emphasize it even more to make this threat of the Ant King more fierce. The more line count for the injured hunters to showcase the collateral damage that it did was amazing. Even if the schedule is catching up, the overall drawing quality this episode is fantastic. And this Jinwoo drawing at the end, chef's kiss. Phenomenal work. Ant King's entrance to the Korea S-Rank Hunters, it was beautifully directed with the blaring sirens OST and one of the best OSTs of the series. This is why you come for me. I want you to come in me. It really had interesting visual ideas and the animation for it was good. The slow-mo cuts and making the cuts feel more, even if it doesn't move, like Mae Dongwook getting slammed the first time with heavy lining to give more force, or Taegyo's attack making the shadows flicker to tell the viewer that he's drawing back his bow with a lot of force, or he's just scared. I mean, I would have shit in my pants by now. The comp and art direction is really good, although the art direction can look a bit unfinished because they probably had no time. Also using mad looking CG backgrounds, but the caves didn't look distracting at all. They blur the backgrounds at times so that the focal point, which is the S-Rank Hunters and the ants, don't get distracted by the things behind it. Overall comp wise, amazing. I don't really have much to say. Ant King's aura looks nice. It blends really well rather than just using the transparent smoke that the manhwa uses a lot. It also mixes with this darker aura that they usually use with the red. It's really nice. I can't wait for the next episode.
I can't wait.
Hopefully everything is put on this next episode. The staff knows how important this fight is, and I can say it now, I guess. Yes, Takeuchi is in the next episode. I don't know what he's gonna do yet, but smiley face. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts about this episode. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. Guys, I'm quitting YouTube because I got accepted to my favorite college. Let's go. Jinwoo vs the Ant King has been the most anticipated fight for Solo Leveling, and it was a spectacle of just the main A1 Solo Leveling team going all out with their connections with Kinema Citrus. Thanks for pointing it out, Alex. There was a lot of like Kinema Citrus stuff I've noticed for season 2. This was a display of all the talent that the team had with not the best conditions. Even animators working on it is shocked that they made it in time, and the fact that they made the fight even better is crazy. It's not just punch 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 and aura. Then there was definitely a lot of inspo from the Rider vs Darksaber fight in the third movie of Heaven's Field. Maybe Kano took a lot of reference from that. But Shinji, isn't it from One Punch Man? Shut the fuck. I don't know if he actually did. And there was some cuts that's pretty familiar with like SAO and such. Although this fight was a spectacle through and through, there is some inconsistencies this episode. I mean, the schedule was not the best. We all know that. But it wasn't that obvious compared to the last episode. So that's a good sign. Not really. This episode covered chapter 101 to half of 104. Yes, only 3.5 chapters because they extended the fight hella to the point that it was written action-wise, better to showcase the Ant King. The camera never actually stopped working in the manhwa. They just cut the feed because the S ranks were getting dicked on and relayed the information that Byung-gu passed away. Anime had a bit of original scenes with people's reaction of the broadcast. Although they changed Jinna and Mom in the anime, Jinna was the one nagging about the TV, while in the manhwa, Mom was just being a boomer. Also, the broadcasting station logo is...
Crush the skull, thank you.
They showcase Ant King compressing his skin so that he can focus his speed more. The anime did an amazing job at it, and we get to see Jinwoo finally using Baron's daggers that he'd obtained, although in the manhwa he already used it straight off the bat after he teleported, slicing ants. The fight was more of a struggle compared to the manhwa. The manhwa version was very one-sided with Jinwoo, so it definitely helped make the fight more exciting and not just for power farming. You gotta display the Ant King's abilities. In saying that, in the anime, we get to see more of Ant King's gluttony ability in play more. This skill makes the Ant King absorb the skills and knowledge of those he consumed. You can see that he ate the queen, so now he can command the ants. From Byung-gu, he can speak and the healing things. The Japanese mask guy, we saw his head being not in good shape. He used his ice ability a lot. While people can cry Jinwoo being late or not, listen, if you want to complain about Jinwoo being late, at least try to analyze stuff a bit better rather than saying, Jinwoo's late! Imagine trying to stream save someone with a 10-minute delay, then the stream just went off. It's hard. Side note, Soul Leveling's author clarified more of Ant King's intentions. He didn't straight away kill the Korean hunters, unlike the Japanese ones, because he wanted to torture them since they committed a sin, killing the queen. Same goes for Byung-gu's case. He didn't eat his head because he wanted the healing ability or such. He wanted the ability to communicate so that we, the ants, can kill the specific kinds, Korea, to commit genocide on them. And this also showcased his intelligence. He Hulk smashed Dongwook so he can locate where Byung-gu was hiding from the magic he was outputting, I think. Yes, the camouflage would have worked. They made Jinwoo cared a bit about Cha-haen's condition because Jinwoo didn't actually pull the elixir of life for Cha-haen. This episode's A part was storyboarded by Ryutaro Suzuki, and B part is storyboarded by Yoshihiro Kano, directed by Ryutaro Suzuki. Kano actually boarded all the Ant King vs Jinwoo fight, since from the looks of it, the commercial break happened when they were staring down at each other at 7:52 in the episode. Imagine a commercial actually played. It'll be like... The non-action parts, there's nothing to talk about, so I'm gonna purely focus on the fight. Before that though, I'll get to the negatives out the way. Some scenes does look limited, like repeated frames, zooming in the scene, so you kinda don't see the imperfections. And parts of that had some cuts didn't really go through the animation directors to correct, since the drawings can be not the best. There's also some noticeable melt, like Manager Wu walking here, or Jinwoo walking to the Ant King. And comp-wise, I wasn't a fan of this stare down or this one. They had to sacrifice parts of the episode so that the highlights can shine, not just the animation, also the compositing. There's a lot more I can nitpick, but today, let's talk about the positives a lot more. Suzuki's part, there's some to highlight, like when Jinwoo initially teleported. There's a lot of slow-mos for a more grander entrance for the shadows, and this part is quite similar with Kano's boards, with that one cut in episode 8, although these cuts are corrected by Kano himself, so that's why the timing can be a bit more choppy. He is the action director, so he will do a lot. I mean, even made Sans depress in a good way. Bad way, I don't know. Also, the CG ants look so good. Sometimes it's hard to tell which is CG or not, because the important thing about CG is the movement and colors comp. You have to blend the colors and shading well with everything. Sometimes CG can be bad because of colors being too saturated or the opposite, but if everything is mixed well, then you can have something very appealing in CGI. I'm gonna skip to Kano's part now. I mean, what can I say except cinema. Erected. Gaping wet hole. Kano's boards are something to be displayed in like the Hall of Fame. His understanding of scale, keeping in mind that this is a cave, using the environment clashing with rocks. This is probably my favorite episode of Kano in terms of boards. The transitions, even if everything is moving fast, it makes sense. Like there's just beams here, then from the effects, it smoothly transitioned. Then we go to a classic Sungwoo Park first person shot. Again, Kano probably used the Rider vs Darksaber as reference. Since they were fighting in a cave too, the ideas for some scenes kinda have that same structure, and there's a lot of scenes that look like certain stuff, like the Ant King changing forms. Kinda feels like Kirito or one of the villains in War of Underworld Awakening. There's some more SAO stuff probably. At least there's no edgy scenes like SAO or Saber's ass getting tooted up. Indefinite smash. And of course the light traveling, it's a classic technique that a lot of animators use. The speed that those two are going is crazy, but you can follow it still. I think Suzuki definitely has a better grasp at Kano's boards when he's directing. Translating it to the final product, the camera is not like the red and blue lines definitely help for those characters traveling fast. We showcase the color very apparent with the stare down, and it's not just that. When Jinwoo slashes a lot or use mutilation, you see a lot of those blue lines to just visualize how much slashes he just did. Same goes for the two going blow for blow. The force from the punch, some can be a bit meh, but overall the hold and release using slow motion to fully get that anticipation across. They can really rely on the action animation to do everything, or just scratch that, let's just crank up the comp by 20. Some of the shots were glorious. They are capable of making the colors work with certain characters. Like take this stare down, the blue and maybe red drowned any other color that Jinwoo had. It's the same problem with the latter half of Dandadan, but if you look at some of these shots, the blue are mixed really well with Jinwoo here. It's like a blue hue with some of the highlights more bluer too. It's not overbearing, and the Ant King changing form, holy, that shit was crazy. And the OST, I think the singer is the same as the AOT one. Wait, let me try this. There's so much about the comp and drawing quality that I wouldn't expect this episode had, but it happened. Some of the best Jinwoo drawings of the series, thank you to Tokuda, or is it just the animator themselves? Drawing such a complex design like the Ant King moving around, it's crazy. The close-up eye shots, Jinwoo standing in front of the fire, feels like it's a more finished product compared to the thing that they showed in the first trailer of Solo Leveling. This was just pre-animated basically. Art direction wise, there's stuff that is left to be desired, but overall it doesn't really distract me from the fight. It's not like Wistoria, god damn that shit was disgusting, or in Shieldrio when they were inside the turtle. Talking more about the highlights of the episode, surprisingly Kano only did like 30 seconds of animation and some cuts he corrected. I mean, it was probably the best sequence of the episode, but all the regulars and other freelancers did a big chunk of the episode, like 40 seconds or a minute worth of just getting it down on some gangster shit. Again, there's so much to highlight, but I'll only break down a couple. Because of Maruyama's cuts, you see his style, how heavy and different the timing is compared to other animators. The heavy smearing, wind effects, and the flickering impact frames look crazy. The slow zoom to the punch here, the color scheme reminds me of those Sung Chin Woo memes or Dekwoo. Hajime Nakagawa presumably did 3 minutes worth of animation. He basically animated most of the end parts where the fight was done. He did visually the best looking sequence this episode. The flickering heavy lining and added lines really signify the transformation that the Ant King is doing, or sometimes you have the lighter shading engulfing it, with again the flickering impact frames with strands of blood vessels? I don't know. The very red color is great, distorting the Ant King's movement too, and even adding little details like hand-drawn sun rays or the white shading slowly moving upwards. Same goes for the boards, the distorted eye perspective, like looking through a peephole.
I can smell you.
And slowly revealing the Anking's form from behind the pillar, cinema. Ryuta Saito has a similar style like Maruyama. I mean, look at this first cut, heavy smears, then boom daggers with the slow-mo wind effects. You can feel the strikes even if it's just very fast or they're forced, like pulling back with their whole body, though the a bit over-exaggerated perspective drawings that really sells it. And I love Saito played with cubic debris to set the scene of them going fast through the cubic debris flying slowly. His uses of slow-mo is really good. Get the aura really well. Props to the compositing team, mixing the illustrated background with the action, moving them so it makes sense with the fight that's happening. Kano's sequence, oh god. The colored lines going everywhere and going around the pillar to get that sense of scale. Again, this technique is pretty common, not that common, and Beck's eye movement is so good. Not just that, the skin folds, he really is flexing his forehead because he can't comprehend what's happening, and the volumetric eye with little details like the red parts beside the eye, the sense of depth, the fight choreography, and the background animation is amazing. The thing that's more impressive is the flow. The transitions are seamless, it's very cohesive even if everything is moving at Mach 20, and again, the anticipation, we slow it down, then release. The drawing quality also, this could be just Kano's drawings. The blue and red glow put on Jinwoo and Anking looks really good. Takafumi Tori sequence, while there is action, but his cuts is a display of very good looking drawings, and the comp really helped it. The cinematic zoom with the added rocks looks nice. Anking and Jinwoo look so good, and this close-up eye shot, somewhat familiar with how Kano did it in the previous seasons of episode 12. The eyelashes is very perky, not in that way. The three-dimensionality of the eye is great. You feel the volume of it. Although there's limitations with some of Tori's cuts, you can still feel Anking's desperation, and the reflection here is a nice add with Yutupon timed cubes. And the last attack by Tori, the fucking Levi Ackerman spinning around. The amount of attacks with the lines repeatedly appearing, crazy work from him. The Far Cry of the Ant King with the animated background zooming out to fully see the amount of ants that's gonna attack. Every shadow got their parts of scrapping with the ants. I mean, I couldn't do that too. I particularly love the close-ups of most of the main shadows, especially Iron. The detail goes crazy. And this shot, the 2-page spread that they did in the anime, although it was just PNG moment. Shinbei Wada's glorious sequence, the fire that's simultaneously going on in the background really sets the setting and despair of the Ant King, with Jinwoo towering him. Not sexually though. Unfortunate. The warm glow on everything is amazing. Not just that, the overall drawing quality. This one is corrected by one of the LO studio staff that was ADing, but most of it is probably just by Sawa alone. As I mentioned before, Sawa's character art is amazing by itself. It wouldn't be surprised if this is mostly just Sawa's character drawings. Solo Leveling really set a standard for action anime. It didn't. I can't thank Kano, Kaneko, Tori, Suzuki, Tokuda, everyone that was involved in the making of this episode. They probably had a very tight deadline, but all in all, it was a masterpiece. And people still raving about Crunchyroll likes. I don't give a shit. By the way, there's not gonna be a PV video for next week because I'm probably gonna make a video about stuff from Anime Japan. I was gonna make one for Code, but they only revealed like new character designs without any staff list. So I'll make a video about these two new shows that correlates with this one in one video. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts about this episode. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time.
Hello? Are you pooping?
Solo Leveling Season 2 has finally concluded and my channel will be dead since I'm only known for solo leveling. Plug. Follow my Twitch if you want to see my ass. This episode definitely set up a lot of stuff for a possible Season 3. We got introduced to some characters that's just aura farming also. I do think Season 3 will be a longer wait if they don't want to rush it, since there's rumors that the director, Nakashige, is directing another show somewhere. Who knows if he will return for season 3 or there's gonna be a new director. And also, the production was a lot more messier compared to season 1. They probably were neck and neck with the airtime of the episode, until the final episode maybe, since season 2 was in production when season 1 was still airing. All in all, hopefully they take their time for season 3, although it's Aniplex. So, although this season ended, the episode still gave me Best Girl. Oh, Heejin, my baby girl. Goo goo guk. This episode covered the second half of chapter 104 to chapter 110. They basically skipped like probably 2 chapters about another thing, which we'll probably get in season 3. A change that the anime did is Byung-goo's extraction only took 1 try, but in the manhwa it took all the tries until the last one because Jinwoo heard Byung-goo's voice saying use my power, and that correlates with the quote-unquote Easter egg from last episode. In the last scene, you hear a faint sound saying, I think ore no skatte kure, which basically means use my power. I know, my Nihongo is very sugoi desu. That's why I only took 1 try, since he wanted to help on his own demand, not Jinwoo. It wouldn't make sense if it took all 3 tries like in the manhwa. There's also a lot of questions why he didn't just arise Beru, because Jinwoo isn't fully aware of his gluttony ability. He thought it was only a regeneration thing, not healing magic, to heal people. Maybe he had a faint idea, but he's not fully sure, so he rides Byung-gu instead. There's some cool anime original things. Beru arrives from a cocoon and Matsumoto stuff, but fuck him. And Ming-sung. We care about Juhi boob jiggle physics. Also, people might have missed this quiet glimpse of a certain key that he got after hitting level 100. I'll hint you this. We've been to this temple before. The manhwa explained a bit more on why Beru can talk. Some of you might think because he can speak before, but Kim Choru, Tus, and Byung-gu could, but when they were in shadow form, they couldn't. The difference is ranking. Beru's rank is general. It's different to any other shadows that he had. It's the highest currently. There's normal, elite knight, then general. Fun fact, he named him Beru because he was thinking about Bernard Werber, the person who wrote Emperor of the Ants. Also, Lu Zigang, Chinese national hunter. I'll say this, don't underestimate national rank hunters, so your social credit can go up.
My social credit up by 15?
And Thomas Andrew was watching the broadcast. And of course, these people, I can't lie to you, I got jump scared that Il Wang Sung was here. He wasn't in the manhwa. And again, these people, one word, monarchs. They actually made eye contact in the funeral, but in the anime they didn't. Also, people are saying that the novel Jinwoo was carrying Cha-hae to the chopper. I didn't really research that, so I'm not really sure. They're definitely not rushing their you can say meeting each other. This anime original scene really sets the build up better compared to the manhwa. This episode was directed, storyboarded, and scripted by the series director himself, Shunsuke Nakashige. Surprising that Nakashige scripted this episode, probably alone. He also did it with the episode 8 in season 1. Since all anime has a series composer as the main writer for the adaptation, the series composition and the series director usually bounces ideas between each other, doing 10 sets of Yes Kings. It's pretty unusual for it to happen. The only person for me right now that comes to my mind that do this a lot is Takaomi Kanasaki. He was the director for Princess Reconnect and Konosuba season 1 and 2, but he was also the series comp for Princess Connect and scripts some episodes in Konosuba. Same goes for the new show he's chief directing, Silent Witch. He's the series comp and sound director too. Interesting. This episode definitely had some rough edges and limitations, considering that this was not the most prioritized episode. The animation director credits is a lot more compared to last episode. Even if this episode had less movement, there's 4 chief AD, 19 animation directors, plus 1 studio, and 5 assistant ADs. It's also very lenient that the episode's action here was not that demanding. Overall, the episode visually was good, with some, again, inconsistencies, although some really nice animation highlights. My only problem, beside the animation falters, is the pacing, not the adaptation like chapters and such, but some scenes when they cut to another scene feels like it was too fast. Although this episode doesn't really have that much, the boards that Nakashige provided was nice. There's a lot of background implementations to really get the scenery across. He loves using stuff to cram in the scenes, like a random alleyway, shots focusing on the legs, although not that Naoki Yamada leg shots, or shots like these between a bunch of people. Also, Nakashige uses a lot of rack focus shots, especially the scenes with these people. Rack focus, basically a technique of one continuating shot that the focus changes either person to person or can be objects too. Like this shot, the focus at first was Jinwoo, then they unblur Cha-hae while also blurring Jinwoo, slowly moving the focus to Cha. He uses it very efficiently. One of the best things this episode is definitely the range of different sceneries. The color tone and art direction is great. The bright blue sky, the light turquoisey sky, the dark rainy clouds slowly disappearing. With the sun rays, it symbolizes
Absolutely nothing.
or through the heavens and earth,
I am the Monarch.
the afternoon sun with Cha-hae was warm. The little room lighting with a hint of bloom effects, also the reflection of the water, and the sun with this hazy effect that kinda correlates with Cha-hae vision seeing Jinwoo, since I'm guessing this scene is Cha-hae seeing Jinwoo in the cave. The blue here too, usually the reflection of the blue from the gates is overpowering, but this one it's balanced. Same goes for the red gates. The art direction very detailed. The comp is good, nothing much to talk about. Although these drawings, the comp is more saturated, it's brighter, it's better compared to the actual episodes, since I'm guessing they made these drawings as illustrations, so the detail is more compared to these stills. Not just that, the drawings, people are saying these are Kenta Toya's corrections. The more detail on the drawings, the lines, cloth folds, and the strands of hair added made it look nice. Overall, the drawing quality looks good. There's some standout ones with thicker outlines or, again, more detail. Of course, the anime can't replicate the Beru drawings from the manhwa. That looks amazing. The anime did its thing with Beru T-posing. The action, or just the overall animation, definitely had its moments. This episode was action AD'd by Hajime Nakagawa, the animator that has that distinct shading style or animation. His corrections contribute in some parts of the action that makes the motion more motiony. Yeah. Talking more about the highlights, the small sequences, although nothing special, but the background animation and the hand-drawn raindrops get the speed of the ant more to song. Same goes for the ant shattering. The multi-shaded ants and the blood too adds a lot of detail. Very zooming with the simple shaped. Cool. The shot is also simple but gives a lot of weight. The repeated fabric and hair animation makes you feel the heavy wind because they are on top of a fucking chopper. The drawings is nice too here. Probably the highlight of the episode. Liu Zigang sequence. You know, for a second I thought he was gonna use the Gates of Babylonia. Same VA as Gilgamesh. I don't know if this was planned or not, but it was animated by a Chinese person. Or Taiwanese. Are they the same thing? I think he's Taiwanese. Or am I being racist right now? Shin Xiong Cheng, a pretty well-known animator, has done some really good stuff, and this sequence is nothing different. Although Shin Xiong only did the layout, since you see Nakagawa's style here, he action AD'd the scene. We get this cool animated zoom with the water being hand-drawn. The slow-mo in this, the way he slowly unsheathes his sword with the hand-drawn effects slowly appearing, then the crazy impact frames. But rather than speeding up the cut, the slow-mo is still there when he unleashes his attack. Really gets the scale of the attack. Then we hold little sparks of light flares, then boom. Then after that, the red gate stuff, some really nice action. This dynamic shot of showing all the shadows. You see how the low end soldiers, like the orcs or bears that we already seen before, is CG, but the newer editions and the standout shadows are all 2D. Very dynamic, although the camera is standing still, but the illusion of the shadows from so close to the camera then zooming out is amazing. This cut is presumably by Kano. This man needs to rest. Some very snappy action, although this background doesn't really give off any movement, like moving forward, but still great. Little corrections, the Ant King transformation is confirmed now to be Kano. Also the fact that he also animated some of the Meruem vs Netero fight, crazy. I mean, his early works in Hunter x Hunter got a lot of attention in the industry. Solo Leveling Season 2 has been fantastic the whole way through. The anime did a better job at a lot of stuff. Hoping for Season 3 announcement soon. But before that, thank you for everyone watching my Solo Leveling vids. It's been nice putting less effort for views. I have one more Solo Leveling vid. It's just a compilation of every episode breakdown I did. Because money. And another filler vid if I'm not lazy for a certain show. Then we go back to non-filler vids. Again, thank you everyone for the support. I mean, my first video on this channel is solo leveling after I delete all my Sakuga ads. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts about Season 2. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time.